what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
And we are live. Greetings to our loyal WFYL listeners around the world. Welcome back to your Philadelphia live stream, only on the Freedom Station. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in once again, because you still have the right to hear and the right to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike G. As always, with me are Philly Chris, Russ the producer, and Liberty Lee. And you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters. And you can listen to our program every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So let's be heard. I want to remind our listeners that you can participate in the free and open exchange of thoughts and ideas throughout the entire week by visiting MikeGinthemorning.com. What's it called, Philly Chris?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
Sleepy Russ, are you there?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
How about you, Liberty?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
That's correct. It's MikeGinthemorning.com. Head on over so you can check us out on YouTube, see our previous episodes on Rumble as well, in case YouTube kicks us off again. We almost got kicked off of the Instant Grams website this week. Did you hear about that, Philly Chris?
Yeah, it was down for a little bit there. What was going on?
I am not sure. I'm not quite sure. Maybe they thought better of it. Close call there.
I don't want to mess.
You check us out on all the social media platforms by visiting MikeGinthemorning.com. So tell your friends, tell your barber, tell your family, tell your Uncle Jerry, tell anybody who listen to check us out at MikeGinthemorning.com. I also want to remind our listeners about the powerhouse lineup we've got here at the Freedom Station. Kick off your morning with Scott Adams bringing you the Scott Adams Show, weekdays from 9 a.m. until 11. We've got Kinetic Faith, brand new to the Freedom Station family, with host Rick Crump, preaching value, service, and order, weekdays at 11 a.m. We've got the one and only the main man, Dan Bongino, coming at you weekdays from noon right until Ben Shapiro. We've got Ben Shapiro, bringing you the Ben Shapiro Show, weekdays from 3 to 5 p.m. And we also want to welcome to the WFYL Freedom Station family, Michael Knowles, bringing you the Michael Knowles Show, weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m. So don't forget to tune in and show him some love.
Oops.
And with that, you know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Now you can hit it, Russ.
You know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
I like the Let's Go Brandon graphic. It's really all over the place at this point, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's gone quite viral. Let's go, Brandon.
I think we will show some videos about that later on in the program. But we've got a very special guest who will be joining us here in a minute. Russ is going to go ahead and get him on the line.
Is his name Brandon? I hope so.
His name is not Brandon. His name is not Brandon. Hopefully he's on board with Let's Go, Brandon.
I think he will be. I'm pretty sure from talking to him he will be.
We're seeing
Russ,
that
was
everywhere.
a good one.
A couple of good
Who
comments
isn't
here.
on board with that?
Gary says, Mr. Producer's late for the show again. That is correct.
It wasn't my fault this time.
Sure it wasn't. We got Stax
Okay,
Farmstead checking on in, says hello, everyone. And thank you, Stax Farmstead, for checking on in. Hope everything's going well with the family. We'll keep pushing that out there. Rita says checking in. Hope everyone's having a good week. Got much better that you're here, Rita. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be out tomorrow with U.S. Law Shield doing a gun law seminar at Relic for all of our listeners in the Lehigh Valley. If you want to come check it out, go to gunlawseminar.com. Don't forget to register so they know how many people to expect and how many people they can keep letting in. Gunlawseminar.com. Check us out. We'll be over at Relic. We'll also be, I believe, in Lee Heighton on Saturday for anybody who's in that area. So come on out to a gun law seminar. It's important to know the law. You don't want to find out when it's too late. You know, my other half of the Justice Brothers, Richard Roberts, always says if you go in front of the judge and you say, well, I didn't know, the judge says, well, you know now, and bangs the gavel. And that's what happens when you don't know. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You've heard that one before, right, Philly Chris?
I have. Yes, I have. And it's
Russ,
true.
are we getting our guest on the line?
I'm trying, but I'm unsure of how to Skype.
You're trying,
so-
but you're
no.
terrible at your job.
Forgot how to
right?
Shut up,
Skype
Mike,
everything.
and then unshut up.
You forget
No,
how to
I
Skype
added as a contact on Skype. I did all this earlier, and it's just not showing up in the contacts list.
Oh, sure.
I
Let's go, Russ.
don't know what I'm doing. Shut
Let's
up,
go,
Chris.
Russ.
Shut up, Chris.
Let's go, Russ.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's unintuitive, or maybe I'm just becoming an old fart.
You know, speaking of MikeGinthemorning.com, put out a video, Make California Great Again. We will show it on the program later on, but for anybody who's listening over the airwaves, you want to head on over to our YouTube channel. You can get there through MikeGinthemorning.com and check out the video that we just put out. We will be releasing a second video that will be premiering on air. And really, if you're listening over the air, we want to remind everybody that you can check out an additional 2 hours of this program by logging on to YouTube or checking us out on Rumble, because we do this live stream that's generally roughly 3 hours on Thursday evenings, coming at you over the airwaves on Friday morning. Coming at you live.
We'll do it
Haven't-
live.
We'll do it live.
Do it live.
I'll write it and we'll do it. I'll produce it and we'll do it live.
Don't get too ahead of yourself, Mike.
Yeah.
Make
Mike G in the
How
morning
do I do this?
on YouTube. And like and share, please, with other like-minded individuals. Getting the message out there.
producing a radio
and share.
program for dummies. You know where I could pick one of them up?
Let's go, Russ.
Let's go, Russ.
Let's go, Russ.
I'm trying.
I think we got a few more comments rolling in over here. Let me check this out.
Yeah, see what we got.
Eric says,
Is
Stack
adding
says,
to favorites
all
even
is well.
do
We're
anything?
blessed. Thanks, everyone. Good to hear. Great to hear. We'll keep praying for you guys and head on over and help the family out if you can, everybody. Eric says Lancaster made headlines this week. Sure did. Defensive shooting over there, from what I understand. Out in public, Philly. Chris, did you hear about that?
I heard a little bit about it, but I haven't had a chance to see the details on it. Yeah.
Defensive others situation, and there were news anchors and journalists looking for the individual who apparently saved the day, and
Yeah.
could not locate that individual at the point that I had read these posts. Sometimes, many times, I deal with people in these situations very often, and some folks will ask me, what about the high-profile cases that you've dealt with regarding defensive shootings? And I said, you don't want those to be high-profile cases. If you've never heard my client's name, then we've done a really good job, because
Right.
people don't want that kind of exposure. Even if they do have a little bit of exposure, you're always going to have people of a certain political mindset who take the position, that guy took somebody's life, so he's a bad guy, and try to
Bad
make their
guy.
lives miserable. We've seen horrendous, disgusting things take place to people who did nothing more than preserve innocent life. And it happens all the
Right.
time. DG says, Russ, instead of playing video games all day, try preparing for the show and use YouTube to learn a few things. We got Coach DG. Coach DG.
It's
over
not my
here.
fault if Skype is being an idiot.
Stack says, to be fair to Russ, Skype is sketchy at times.
At times, that's awfully generous.
Oh, maybe we ought to look into an alternative then, right?
All the alternatives suck, though. Microsoft knows it. They know that Skype is the non-suckiest one out there, and they don't have to make it any better because there's nothing that came along
By
that's
the
better.
way, welcome to my life. Stacks Farm said if you compliment Russ, he will actually turn it around. It's the
Huh?
worst thing ever complimenting Russ. He undoes the compliment.
Undoes the compliment, turns it into something else.
Not good with the compliments.
Complimenting Russ, and he says, "Well, this is why life is miserable anyway."
Yes, indeed.
DG says the news was on fire today. Newsmax is the way to go. I don't know if I should be saying this over these airwaves. Some of you see me appear on Newsmax, so
Yeah.
I guess the WFYL doesn't have a television station right now, right? So
Not
Not
yet.
currently.
This is the closest thing to it, I think.
yeah. Russ, my 13-year-old is available for some lessons. That would be great. When you set it up, I'll pay. Is your 13-year-old capable of getting our guests on the air sometime within?
You know
you
what,
want me to try to do
Mike?
it,
How
Ross?
about
Is that
you
what
do
you're
it? You do it. You add the guy.
I'm
You
gonna
add
pay
him
a
to the
13-year-old
call.
instead.
Go for it.
I'll pay a 13-year-old instead. That sounds
You
like
don't
a
even
better
pay
option to
me.
Oh, well, is that what's standing in the way of you getting this guest on the
Yeah,
line?
show
Is
me
you
the
not being
money.
paid
That's
enough?
what he's saying, yeah.
No, Skype is the thing staying in the way, but I'm
Are
not
you
going
on-
to tell you you
are
can't give
on
me money.
strike right now? Is this some kind of
No, I'm not.
Dax Farm said, "Note taken. It won't happen again." No more compliments for you, Russ.
Oh, okay. Hey, Mike,
I'm gonna
if
try
you're
it.
ready to allegedly
Chris is gonna
produce
give it a
this
shot. If
program,
Chris does it,
I'm
then
going to give
Russ
it a
is
shot. Hold
fired.
on. That's right. That's right.
Chris does
Don't
it.
worry, I'll
then Russ
produce the
is
show
fired.
this week.
And you get double the money.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Let's see.
Looking into it.
Chris, you do this, I'll boil you in wax.
Go ahead. You do it.
You running into issues because there's several of them, it looks like. Maybe.
Yeah, little bit.
I don't know. Let's try this one.
And I wasn't given an exact
Let's
username.
try
I was
this
given
one.
an
Chris is
email
gonna
address.
give it a shot. Might get the wrong
Yeah,
guy.
give it a shot. Let's see.
Coming on, getting in. Maybe Dr. Val will just pop in.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, maybe Dr. Val can add him to the call.
Might be with us. Mr. Williams?
Yes, this is me, sir.
What?
Hello.
Oh, is that British Mike popping in?
It is I. No.
Yes, sir. How art thou?
Can he look for... What are the other options?
The other options are I kick you in the throat. No, the other option.
Yeah, that'd
I'll,
be good.
I'll
Can you get your foot that high? Hold on a sec.
Yeah, bend over. I'll
Try one more
give
time.
you a text as far as what to tell him to look for, so I'm not giving our Skype info over the air. You guys are
Just for the
certified
record,
geniuses,
Russ.
aren't you?
Just for the record, Russ, Philly Chris would knock your teeth so far down your throat that you'd have to stick a toothbrush between your butt cheeks to brush them. Just for the record.
Joke's on you.
Set it on. Jokes.
Joke's on you. You're already brushed between the butt cheeks. Been doing that. Isn't that how everybody does it?
Mike,
You
this
don't
is
brush
terrible.
your teeth that way. Definitely getting this joke.
Mike, do you want to remain on the air?
Getting a phone
Get
call
somebody
from
answer.
Susan any minute now.
I know, right?
All right. So while he goes ahead and does that, Liberty, didn't you say that you had some questions about some of the shortages that we're seeing popping up? I don't know if anybody in the comments, you can go ahead and comment if you've been seeing this, but there are all kinds of shortages in the supply chain, and things are sold out everywhere you go. Liberty, weren't you talking about that earlier this week?
Yeah, it's
That's
actually really concerning. I'm confused why
Well,
not
I
more
think
people
I
are saying it
found it.
about it. But actually, I texted you guys last night, and then today there was a Fox News report, literally on the 5. Greg Gutfeld was actually talking just about the same exact thing that I was concerned about. A lot of people, some are, but I'm not seeing it as much. I'm like, what is the administration doing? Are they doing anything?
Well,
Doesn't make any
do you ever
sense.
see that meme of the dog and the house is on fire and he says everything's fine? He's just sitting there where the house is burning down.
Yep.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like these ships are out there. I've seen some stories about the guys that are stranded. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And so I really wanted to talk to Philly Chris about it because I know that sometimes he knows the bigger picture. So I kind of want to see his thoughts on it.
Oh man, you just made his day. See the way his demeanor on his face
Perking up
changed
over here.
when
What
you
was
said
that,
that
Lindsay?
Philly Chris
Sorry, I'm
is right
trying to-
about predicting what's going to happen in the future. I feel like every day Chris is like, I told you this was going to happen. Literally every day.
Well,
Told you this was going to happen. Did you hear this?
Just every other day. Come on now.
Remember, he always
Philly
said.
Chris.
Chris always says to me, "You remember I was talking to you about this like a year ago?" And it's like, "No, I don't remember, bro."
Somebody said
You say a lot of things.
somebody
to
said
pull
that
some of
Trump
the
would
old
have had
tapes
it
of the
taken
show,
care of.
With that, Trump was what?
Well, yeah.
Somebody said Trump would have had it taken care of, kind of like Operation Warp Speed, but for the
Mm.
truckers, he would have hired like 80,000 new people, or got rid of some regulations.
Well,
and
I think they're doing it on purpose. I mean, their policies are creating this nonsense. So they want to sit here and say it's not a major situation, but it is obviously, but they're achieving their goals. I mean, they're limiting all the stuff in California that has to do with anything that burns diesel or gas. So I think they're limiting how many real trucks can even go to the ports. They have to transport the things to the California border via the new rules. So yeah,
So,
they're achieving their
Jeremy
goals.
says, "Oh man, just got here and it's FUBAR." I can't say that on the air. Yeah. Messed up beyond all recognition already. Love it. Stacks
Oh,
Farm said
gosh.
says
Yeah.
no eggs at the store. My neighbor said I sold him 2 dozen. So very self-sufficient over at Stacks Farmstead,
oh, wow.
and don't need to
I'm
go
gonna try
to.
to
that's
give
what's
him a
become-
call. I'm gonna put it on mute here.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, give him a call because Russ is having some problems getting the contact.
DG
yeah,
says
I see
supply
these
chain is full.
signs.
I know of someone who works for a warehouse who was told many times to not come in despite the supplies being there. I see the trucks near the warehouse all the time. So is there something more going on here? Is there more to this story that we don't know about?
That's a question for Philly Chris for sure.
Well, I think I interrupted you, Liberty. What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying, I just like you said, like the eggs. Like the other place I went to recently, there had no straws. There's signs on the doors saying that they're closing early because they're short-staffed. I got a message from a dog walking company that said they cannot get the proper employees. So it's more than just supplies. It's people.
People.
They couldn't get the proper employees to train them well, like actually good employees. So they had to limit walking hours for dogs. I mean, what the heck's going on? Every other day I'm getting an email.
Yeah, I have noticed that there are a lot of stores that are shrinking their hours. They're no longer open as late, or maybe they're closing for a day or 2 a week because they just simply can't keep them staffed. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. Where are these people going in the workforce, though? Right? Because for a while, everybody was saying, oh, well, the government's giving them handouts and they're extending unemployment, and as a result, nobody's working. Oh, that's not going to last forever, is it? Unless that's, that very may will probably be the goal of the left.
Unless
is to
that's the
make
plan.
All I know is
ultimately last forever.
there's been no solutions. There's been no proposed solutions. I think Biden went out there and gave some speech about it and gave, kind of acting like it's not that big of a deal.
Solutions? Why would we come up with those? Those are banned.
I mean, every time I look on the internet, all I see is like pictures of Kamala doing something, just out there, just doing something,
Acting
laughing.
with children.
Like her YouTube series that she has time for some reason instead of being vice president.
Yeah,
Stacks
nobody.
Farmstead says
they have
controlled demolition, the Great Reset. So yeah, that would suggest that
Great reset, right?
this is on
Yeah.
purpose. DG says the shortages teaching all of us to conserve better. Well, that's certainly true.
Why are no messages coming
Yeah,
through?
well, I
on
mean,
my
we
end?
also kind of learned that during COVID,
A little bit,
Um,
but people have short memories, so I don't know how many
people have short
people
memories,
have
right.
continued to do so. I went to lunch with the CEO of a conservative media outlet one time, and he basically said, hey, my dad always told me to do yourself a favor and go to the grocery store, get a couple $100 worth of canned goods, because you can never go wrong with that, right? You'll have it in case you need it. Worst comes to worst, you can always eat it.
Yeah.
And that'll last you quite a bit of time, right, Philly Chris?
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know,
Were
based on
we,
what we're
did we
seeing right now,
interrupt
it's
you when
probably
you
a
were
good
telling
time
us
to
the future?
yeah,
So what's
actually
happening?
I think I
want
was
a
on
real
mute.
what's happening, Philly Chris, please.
Regarding a specific topic, Liberty,
Yes,
or just in
regarding the
general? Yeah.
shortages. Yeah,
Oh,
the supply, the shortages.
yeah. Well, I mean, the supply chain obviously is pretty jacked up, as we all know. But I mean, I think it's going to get quite a bit worse, unfortunately. You know, with the just-in-time inventory system, which is what most companies, big companies, use, and pretty much we see across the nation with the shipping. Not only are we seeing these delays now, but we're going to see that ripple effect. So I think the holidays are going to be pretty interesting, and probably a good time to stock up again. You know, on the toilet paper.
Is that what it's gonna be that again?
Chris
I
is
mean,
going
there
to be
are
the
some
cause of
stores
the
I've seen
next
pictures
toilet paper
across the
shortage.
country that are getting pretty sparse on the shelves. So I think it's going to trickle down, and we'll see more of that. Yeah, and then of course people are going to run out, and it'll amplify that like we saw before. So yeah.
So did we
I don't think it's by
get this
accident.
squared away with our guest, or?
He was trying to log into Skype to see if he could find us. So he's working on that. He said he'll call me back in a minute if he had trouble.
Yeah,
we'll
so if he's got trouble, let's just get him on the phone.
Yeah.
And we'll do it that way. That's better than nothing, right?
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, worst comes to worst. If we don't have
Yeah.
him within the next few minutes when he calls you back, then we'll just go ahead and
I'll
get him
send
on
you
the
that.
phone. Oh, Chris, why don't you tell us about you attended the banquet last week, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it was a nice event. They did a really nice job with
Well, let's
the guest
explain for our
speaker
listeners. It was the Hope Pregnancy Center's banquet, right? The annual banquet
right.
for life. And
Right.
good turnout.
Yeah, there were several hundred people there. It was a nice event, wonderful dinner. Got to talk to some other folks who support the organization, and had a chance to hear a little bit more about their accomplishments and what they're up to. And pretty touching story by Jennifer O'Neill, I think was her name, the guest note speaker. She's an actress and author from kind of before our time, but she got up and told her personal story about how when she was young, she was in a relationship with a gentleman and ended up getting pregnant. And because of some pressure put on her by the gentleman at the time, she decided
You're
to
using the
actually
term
get an
gentleman
abortion.
loosely, right? Using the
Right. That's right. Yeah.
doesn't sound like
Yeah,
much
good
of a
point.
gentleman
Right,
if you
yeah.
ask me.
Well, I respect the fact that she also took some ownership over the decision, but she was excited about moving forward with the pregnancy and having the child, and was hoping they were going to get married and all that. But apparently he didn't have the same vision for the future of their relationship, so she moved forward and had an abortion. So she talked quite a bit about that and the trauma that she experienced afterwards from going through that and regretting it, of course. So yeah, she
So it's
talked
not
quite a
this
bit about
great
that.
thing that the left makes it out to be. This great
Right, exactly.
freeing life-saving sort of thing that they always talk about. There are consequences for people.
Apparently, yeah. Some people don't feel good about it afterwards. Yeah, which is something I'm not sure that they really share with a lot of these kids that end up at these centers that are more about the abortion side of things than pro-life. So but yeah, it was a really nice event. It was really, really touching to hear her share her story, about that experience and how it changed her and how it brought her closer to Jesus, and how it changed her life going forward. So, and of course that relationship didn't work out between the two of them, which I would think naturally you'd have challenges after that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And you got to hang with the great Marlene Downing. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah. We got to hang out a little bit, catch up. I got a picture of the two of us together at the end of the banquet there.
Oh,
I was going to try to get a little video for the show, but it wasn't really conducive for that, the way things were set up. And once things wrapped up, people kind of just took off and headed out. But
Gotcha.
did get to meet some nice folks and learn more about the organization. We'll have her back on I'm sure in the
Absolutely.
future to talk more about what they're up to over there. But yeah, it was a great event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good time.
Dax Farm says, "As band-aids, beans, and bullets is the saying." I like that. Although,
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
ammunition has been incredibly difficult to come by since the pandemic, really, right? It's never really
Yeah.
straightened out. I mean, the prices have leveled out a little bit, but they're still nowhere near
Right.
pre-pandemic. The availability is still nowhere near pre-pandemic. But it's a good saying. I like that one.
Hmm.
And Jeremy says, "What is going on with Dan Bongino telling the media company he'll leave if they force him to vax?" Well, I don't know if we should talk about the inner workings of that or any of the specific details. What I can say personally is that I am certainly against an employer employers within their right to have certain requirements as private organization. Legally, that's true. And generally speaking, on our side of the aisle, we're all about, hey, hands off or anything like that. But as a policy matter, forcing somebody to do something like that, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So if he's going to be principled and take a stand, and in Chappelle's special, he was kind of talking about that, right? He said something like, "I left 50 million on the bus
Yeah, right.
out of principle." So
Hmm. Yeah, more people
it,
seem to be
it
standing
takes
up. I mean, I
it
think it's
takes
great.
real that's what I will say. It takes real courage
Yeah, right.
to take a stand when there's a whole lot of money on the line for something that you believe in, and take a principled stand. We have nothing of that sort at WFYL. I can tell you that much.
Gentlemen, I have an update on the guest. The guest is trying to call, but I can't merge the call. Skype won't let me. And if I answer
Yeah.
it, then it'll place you guys on hold. And
Can
I don't
you
know if
call
we'll
the
be
Can
able
you
to
guest?
see
merge
his
You
them.
have the
name
number?
now? Can you see his user?
No, it just says live:(CID) dot and then just an alphanumeric string of numbers.
Okay, I sent you his phone number, Russ, a minute ago through the text messages. So, oh wait, he just sent me a different phone number.
Well,
So, let me
when I
see.
look in the Skype directory,
Well, then if you can see him, why haven't you added him? I told you to do this like 20 minutes ago.
You want to try it, Mike? Can you add it? Oh, and we lost Mike.
Oh, I
We'll
hope
do it live.
I hope
Do
he
it
didn't
live.
just quit.
No, I think he's just trying to add him.
I'm out of
We'll
here.
figure it out somehow.
Mike, did you quit your own
That's
show?
it. That's all the time we have, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen. Thanks for joining.
See you next time
All
when
right.
Russ gets the guest.
Yeah. What is that? Why is that coming through here?
But I just sent you his number, Russ, that he sent me.
Okay.
That you can reach him at. So unfortunately, the Skype isn't working, but we can
It's
call
not
him
working because I can't
through
merge
the
it.
old school phone.
I've got him on the other line.
Do you?
I told you that's how it works. It places us on hold. I don't know how to merge it. Skype's merge button
See if you can
either
merge it.
got disabled or it just doesn't work.
Huh? Can you see his user, Mike, or anything?
I had to call. Hold on.
Yep. Take your time. But I was watching that video, the Dan Bongino video, and I think it's pretty compelling what he's doing. And he may give up his radio show entirely because he basically told the network there that runs his radio show portion that if they were to force the mandates on employees, that he would not stay on board. So pretty interesting. But hey,
That'll be
more people
interesting
seem
to
to
see
be
how
taking
that
a
turns
stand.
out.
Yeah.
Wait, why is that so newsworthy? I mean,
Because he's a national radio host?
yeah, but I would think that he wouldn't. I mean, I would think a lot of people who follow Fox News potentially wouldn't stand for that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also one who would be like, well, if you try and make
I
me
know
get the
people.
vaccine, I'm out of here.
Well, I mean, he's a national host, but I mean, I know people. Why is that so? Why is that such a big deal? I know people who are hard workers, everyday life, who have refused it and have to get weekly tests because of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't see why he's bigger than other people. I mean, it's good.
No,
Take
I
it as
wouldn't say bigger. I guess maybe because he's got so much on the line, monetarily, maybe more than others. But, in
Maybe.
reality, he probably doesn't need the money the way other people do. So you bring up a good point, Liberty.
Well, I think
he
people will
probably doesn't.
follow him no matter what. He'll find another
Well, not only
platform.
that, but I think
Yeah, right. And he
I-
already has his own platform, so.
That
And he's on
well,
Rumble.
yeah, that's kind of what I think.
yeah.
Like Alex Jones
Yeah.
did his.
hmm
well, if all
But at
else
least
fails
he's-
and he does decide to leave, get ready to fill that 12 to 3 slot, guys.
I guess I
Right,
just
right.
expect. I think I just expected it. I didn't think it was news, but
Sure. I think he's just making it public because he wants people to know that he's not going to go along with it, since they're pushing it on.
Hold on.
Well,
I think he's going to be on here in 1 second, and Russ will
Okay.
officially be fired.
All right, perfect.
Why
You
would
got it
I be
figured out, Michael?
fired?
Because if I'm a caveman, if I figured out how to
It's
do
showing
this,
up as an
Definitely.
alphanumeric string of numbers and letters, of which I can't
So
find in
I
our
got it.
contact list.
which
I wasn't even
figured
given a
out.
username. I was given an email address.
Okay, well, I figured out how to do it, right?
Yeah. It'd be nice if
We'll
he's
see.
on
We'll see.
site.
Let's see if
Yeah.
All
I
right,
figured out.
all
how to
right,
do
Mike.
it.
All right, all
If
right.
I figured
You
out how
can
to
be
do
the
it, you're
producer
definitely
from
fine.
now on, and I'll be the radio host. How's that?
Awesome.
There we go.
Okay.
There we
No,
go.
I don't think you're qualified to be the radio host,
Oh,
but I'm
I
qualified.
absolutely do. I've been doing this longer than you have, Mike. Get out of here. Go lay
Let me
down.
see if there's anything about murder.
The Russ P in the Morning Show. Russ, I want to hear you do the Mike G in the Morning imitation. Let me hear if you can do that. Russ P. You're listening to Russ P in the Morning
No, God.
with the little matter. Let's be heard. All right, guys. Oh man, I almost had him.
You almost had it?
I got to hang up with him on this.
Yeah, no problem. Just
What do you mean you
we'll have,
almost had him?
call him
It's
by
not.
phone.
We're not going fishing. He can't hear me. That's the funny part.
Yeah, we had him on the hook there.
Oh.
One of these weeks we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
all
not
good.
my fault. You guys don't know
all
how to
good.
technology.
Just watch this. Watch and learn, people.
Oh, I'm
All right,
watching.
show us the way,
I'm
Michael.
watching. My eyeballs are glued to the screen, Mike.
Yeah,
If you don't make this
fine.
work, you're gonna make a fool of yourself.
No, I'm not. It just
No,
means I'm
yes,
as
you
bad
are.
as you are.
Right.
I'm not good at not my job.
You know what,
That's all, I
Mike?
think you did it.
Remind me to give you a nosebleed at some point.
I think you did it, Mike. I saw something pop up there.
Yeah, I'm seeing you guys and I'm hearing you.
All right. Can you click the camera button?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there we go. Thought it was on. There you go.
Oh yes,
Right.
there he is.
I normally get that. I normally get that reaction when a handsome Scotsman comes on camera. So
The one and only. Yes, love it. I was so glad we were able to make this happen. And by the way, Russ is fired, so
Russ
have a
is
nice
fired. Thanks,
life, my
Russ.
friend.
You know what?
Yeah, no,
Thanks
Russ-
for all you've
Russ-
done.
Russ-
You know
yeah,
what?
Russ is my go-between, so the aliens have landed. Yeah.
So, ladies and
Speaking
gentlemen, we got
aliens.
Andrew Williams with us, joining us on the program. It is great to see you. You know, you're the kind of guy I met you over at the club, and we had a brief conversation. I said, the audience would love this guy. Everybody would love this guy. We got to get him on. We got to hear more about his story because, frankly, I was interested in hearing more about your story, your journey, and everything like that. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a great pleasure. And I have to say, if no one's actually ever been to your presentations on the law and firearms, they're really missing a great treat. Not only is it great entertainment for several hours, the knowledge that you have is encyclopedic. And I've got your book here beside me as well. I'm up to page 130. So I'm not as bright as you on the law side of it. I've got to read it several times over before I understand how I might save myself from getting it. But it was a great night. You came down and we've got from there. So, things are moving on. So great. Thanks very much for having me. You did great work.
Well, thank you so much for having us at the club. It was a real honor to be there, and we had an excellent turnout. and got to meet some really great people, great supporters of the Second Amendment. And thank you for helping us do that. So we
My pleasure.
appreciate that. And thank you for the kind words. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do over at the club and what you do as an instructor? And then I want to hear a little bit more about your background. We'll get to that. But tell us a little bit about the club and everything like that.
Okay, so I belong to the Shippensburg Fishing Game Club in Shippensburg, obviously, and I am the NRA representative. I'm an NRA certified training counselor, and I teach people the basics of firearms in all disciplines. And we progress through, and it's great to be able to see people who are serious about it, who are lawful people, that want to increase their knowledge. And that makes my job so much easier because they have the right attitude towards firearms. So I start them from basic pistol, we go up through concealed carry, then we go into defensive shoot, and then there's other things that we can do on firearm safety in the home, protection inside and outside the home, and refuse to be a victim. And we do that for the family members, and we also do it for the kids that are about to go off to college. So I've got the best job going. I really have the best job going. And we get to work with disabled servicemen, bring them back into the shooting fold. And for us old fogies that start to get going, we have a program called adaptive shooting. So there's no excuse. You just come along and we'll find out what you can do. And then we take you on the range and, we have a good old time.
So that's sort of a thing where regardless of your physical limitations, you'll figure out a way to get you doing something?
Yeah, adaptive shooting. So you tell us what it is. I had a guy that told me, this is a funny one. I asked the guy what was his dominant eye, and he told me it was right eye and right-handed. So that was great. And we started shooting, and I was looking at his target, and I said, "Are you sure you're right eye dominant?" And the guy went, "Yeah, but I'm blind in my right eye." And I was going, no kidding, pal. Yes. So we adapted. We changed them over, but it was just a surprise. Because he wasn't hitting the target, but that's quite funny, that one. So I hope he doesn't come back and haunt me. So there we go. Wow. So yeah, as I said, NRA certified. I'm nothing to do officially with NRA. I'm just trained by them. I passed all their training programs. They allow me to go out, meet a lot of great people, and teach their lessons. And I have to say, having traveled the world, the NRA have some of the best training programs for firearms, and they take it to all peoples, whether you're in the military, whether you're in the police, whether you're in sporting clubs, whether you're in schools. They do great stuff, and nobody seems to notice. And we all get bad press, which is a great shame, because the programs are fantastic.
Yeah.
So I can't.
It would seem that the people who criticize them, in theory, would be on board with training and education, right? Because that seems to be a big complaint from people in the anti-gun community is, people don't have to be forced to go out there and train by the government, and therefore you're going to have all these problems. Well, groups like this are doing this voluntarily. Maybe the government's not forcing anybody to do it, but they're going out there, they're being responsible gun owners, and they're getting the safety training and education. But that it just shows that it's all a farce on the anti-gun side. They don't really mean that when they say that, do they?
Well, I think they don't actually understand what it is they're getting into. And one of the things about Shippensburg Fishing Game Club is they want to give back to the community, and they do this NRA basic pistol course at a ridiculous price. And so we run these courses so that people get to see, and we give something back. So a lot of the people who are firearms owners are law-abiding. And yet it's the small minority that give the rest of us a bad name. And all these folks are out there, and they're desperate for good, solid training. So for those that are interested in becoming NRA certified instructors, we welcome you with open arms. And for those who don't know us, we actually have the same goal. We want everybody to be safe.
Yeah, the people on the anti-gun side want everybody to believe that as gun owners, we wake up every day, we can't wait to kill somebody, or that when something bad happens, that we just simply don't care. We don't mind that stuff at all. Obviously, that's not true.
No.
Nobody wants people to die from, whether it be by accidents or intentionally. And promoting firearm safety training and education is a great way to reduce that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. And we have fun. but we also teach kids in 4-H's and high schools and with shotguns, archery, and air rifles. And they're out and they're socializing, they're achieving things, they're not on their computers all the time. And that is supported by the funds that the NRA give. So if you generate money in Pennsylvania, it stays in Pennsylvania for our youth programs. And some of these kids can get full scholarships to university if they actually have that skill. So yeah, it's great. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, some bad press comes along and people don't understand it. But I can't speak enough. And, you know, you can understand from my accent, I'm not from these shores. But I can't speak enough or highly enough of the fantastic programs that they've got. And they're all stand-up, law-abiding citizens. And we both want the same things, to keep our companies safe, to keep our communities safe, to keep our kids at school safe. And yet we're at opposite ends of the polar. And everybody's, and you know, the politicians who are ignorant, unfortunately, and the talking heads on TVs who know nothing about the product and are not prepared to learn. And so it's up to people like yourself and your program and everybody else that we're out there to pass the message and become ambassadors for the Second Amendment. So there's no country in the world has what we have over here. And it's a right that needs to be protected. It was given to us back in the Revolutionary War because the country was being terrorized by the English. Now, as a Scotsman, you know, I have to say the English. So, and it's been there, and it's just a great thing to have.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So you said that you can tell by your accent that you're not from around here. You mean that's not a Shippensburg accent? I always thought that was a Shippensburg accent.
Well, even in Pennsylvania, I'm known as the guy with the funny accent. So I think the Pennsylvania Dutch have got a pass on this one. No,
So where
absolutely.
were you born?
Yeah, I was born in Scotland, in a place called Edinburgh, just north of Edinburgh. If I say Edinburgh, you're probably going to be more geographically aligned, but it is Edinburgh. So just over the bridge, the Forth Road Bridge, in a wee place called Dunfermline. So it's a one-horse town and a horse left as well.
What was that like?
It was great. Absolutely fantastic, steeped in history. From the Norman times and, you know, fighting the Romans at Hadrian's Wall and Rob Roy and various other things that Hollywood have obviously, you know, tarted up a little bit. But we're a fiercely independent peoples, and we're all over the world. You know, if you leave and don't go home in 6 months, you never go back. If you come back in 6 months, you never leave. We're a very strange bunch of people, very clannish. So I can you know, relate to the North American Indians and things like that, because you know, the Cheyenne and the Sioux and the Cherokee and all them sort of things. The Scots are like that with McDonald's and Campbell's and various things. But it's a great place. You know, you get 1 day of summer every year, and the rest of it is just miserable weather. That's why I'm over here enjoying myself.
But so you said it's a one-horse town and the horse left.
Yeah.
Bring me to your house growing up. What does your house look like that you're growing up in?
Well, it was a semi-detached. You know, it was a mining village. The house itself was made of metal, and they were made in the Second World War for returning heroes, and they were only supposed to be up there for 10 years. So 40 years later, the houses are still standing.
Wow.
It was like living inside a drum. Anybody hit the side of it, it would vibrate. But, you know, we all played soccer in the streets, and during the summer, what you call baseball, we called rounders. And then we were naughty. We would go out and steal people's apples out their orchard. And the local policeman would chase us, and he'd put his size 9 boots up the seat of our pants. You can't do that anymore, of course. And of course, if you ran away, John Penman, his name was, great guy. John Penman would call you back and say, I know where you live, and you'd have to come back, because if you didn't, he'd knock on your door, and not only would he give you a size 9, your dad would give you a size 9 in the seat of the pants as well. So one was better than two.
Sure.
So it was a great place. You know, Andrew Carnegie, the famous Scotsman that made his money in Pittsburgh, he lived in the same town in a wee 2 up and 2 down, a wee village. And when he made his money, he came back and he bought the big park and donated it. And I used to have fun in that big park. And there's ruins of a castle. I used to be like Errol Flynn going up and down the stairs, sword fighting in the place. Now it's all blocked off and the kids can't do that. So I was
So what kind of
wild.
jobs do people have over there? Like,
Yeah. Well, it used to be the work in the Navy dockyard. That's now gone. It used to be steel mills. There used to be iron. Then they became Aberdonian cowboys when the oil fields came in and they were on the rigs offshore. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And when the helicopters came in, you'd see them getting off these helicopters with Stetsons and cowboy boots with Glaswegian accents or Aberdonian accents. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen or even listened to. And there used to be fishing industry as well, but it's all now service related because all those industries have died away. So already joined the army, which is something that I did because you were off for adventure.
So how old were you when you made the decision that you were going to serve?
12.
12. So you knew from an early age.
Yeah. So I joined a thing called the Army Cadet Force. It was either that or go to jail because all the guys I ran around with they were in what you call juvie hall. So I joined the Cadet Force, and there was a Sergeant Major Eddie McIntosh, God bless his soul, who was a Second World War vet, and I was cheeky to him, and he cleaned my clock. I was on the ground looking at the stars, and he put me on the straight and narrow and gave me discipline. And so I had the Certificate of Military Educations, Part 1 through 3, and did that until I was 17 and a half. But it definitely kept me on the legal side of the equation. And then I went into the reserves and went on from there and, coming out the reserves, going into regular service and things like that. So man and boy, 35 years of service. So
wow,
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Now, let me ask you this. You're talking about the opportunity that you have to interact with the youth of Pennsylvania and get them involved in shooting sports and firearm safety at an early age. Is that something that you had the opportunity to do?
Yes. First, I'm a Boy Scout leader as well. I'm on the shooting sports program for the New Birth of Freedom Council here in Pennsylvania. And, we teach the boys these skills at Hidden Valley and Tuckahoe Scout reservations. And these are little lads from the age of 6. They get the air rifles and we work their way up to the 22s. And if you're a venture scout, you can fire the 9mm pistol. We also do archery and fishing and throwing tomahawks. So we teach them all the disciplines. And it's good to see them when they achieve something and you see that grin that comes on their face. You can't buy that memory of the fact that wee man has knocked the clay pigeons out the sky. So yes, we do that. And then the other thing I do is with the Pennsylvania Wildlife Commission, we teach them Hunter's Ed. And all the wee boys coming up in the store and say, I was on your course and I got my first deer or I got my first turkey. And they're out there in this beautiful countryside that we've got around here, paying for it with all the ammunition that they buy. 6% goes to upkeep our natural resources. So yeah, it's great working with them and to see them, step up and learn all the different skills that we've got.
So when you were younger, though, when was the earliest you had the opportunity to be exposed to firearms?
Well, that was when in the Cadet Force, they had a 22. It was old Henry Lever Martini action, something like that one you might see in the Zulu film, when they cracked the river down. But they had that in a 22, and it was in a pipe range, concrete pipes, 25 yards, and you'd fire down the pipe and you'd hit your paper target. Once you got some experience of that, they gave us the old Lee Enfield 303 magazine-fed bolt-action rifle. And in those days, I could see quite far and hit targets at 1,000 meters. These days, I keep it down to about 100 yards. But we got those, and then there was light machine guns, again firing 303. So for a wee lad to have all the fun on that type thing, firing blanks or firing lam ammo, and they put the discipline in there to teach you what they call NSPs, normal safety precautions. So I was very fortunate, even in Scotland, to have that. You can't get it now. Unfortunately, the laws are very, very restrictive over there. You can't even get an air rifle. That's how bad it is.
Really?
Wow, like Jersey.
It's that bad. Yep.
Yeah.
Bad.
because that's what people normally think of when you're thinking overseas, thinking they don't have any gun rights over there. It just doesn't exist. It's almost like New York and New Jersey, right?
It's more draconian than New York and New Jersey.
Oh,
wow.
that's incredible. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
But to hear that you did have that opportunity, that's mind blowing. But it sounds like today they are, just as stringent as we probably imagine in our minds. Do you think that would have impacted you? You said that you were in a little bit of a trouble as a youth. Do you think that had you not had that opportunity to get involved in firearms and shooting in the cadets, that would have had a negative impact on your overall trajectory in life?
absolutely. I wouldn't be where I am today without that discipline that those people gave me. And it was discipline in everything, not only discipline in the way that you dressed and reacted and spoke to people, but your internal discipline. And that discipline transposed itself into how you do, as I say, NSPs, your normal safety precautions. And you learned at a very early age that safety was paramount, especially when you were doing fire and maneuver. So yes, I would not like to think where I would have been. Most of my friends graduated not only from juvie, but they went on to become professional criminals, and they have done some time in serious prisons in Scotland. So I was very fortunate, extremely fortunate for the fact that people took the time to mentor me. And this is what this whole program that we do here, it's mentorship, watching the people come in that have just bought a new firearm, taking them through the basics, building on their skill set, teaching them how to use their firearm properly, but also as a citizen, their responsibilities as an armed citizen. And that's where you come in with the law thing, because I can get them so far, but then they have to come to chaps like yourself who are the legal experts, and then they have to understand. You draw your firearm for your holster, you now have got a whole world of hurt coming at you if you do something wrong, and you better have your telephone number on speed dial.
That's right. Lawyer up and shut up, right?
Yeah, take the nickel and dial. But that's the great thing about your program. I mean, I knew a bit about law, a bit to be dangerous, but when I watched you doing your presentation, I was like, that's, as I'm a firearm expert, you're the expert on the actual thing itself. And, to have your book and reading down through it, and the lessons I learned from you, you better believe you're dialed into my phone. So yeah, zip it and take, take the fifth and go with it. That's my Second Amendment and my fifth.
That's right. That's right. Don't be shy. Use the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. That's good to hear. Now, do you ever think that? Go ahead.
Just be polite. As long as you're polite, you know what you're doing. Understand that if you have to draw your firearm, you are going to have a visit. You're probably going to get arrested while they sort it out. And that's okay, because when things go bad, there's a lot of confusion and they have to sort the thing out. And you just have to remember that you're one of the good guys. They don't know that at the time. And that's why you're going to come and explain that to them when hopefully I'd never get myself in trouble. But if it ever happens, you're going to come and get me.
Right. I mean, we all pray that we never have to be in that position.
Yeah.
But if you're a gun owner, that's why you own a gun in the first place, is because you know that there is a possibility that you may have to defend your life or the life of a loved one someday.
Well, you're probably aware of what happened down there in that shooting mall, the shopping mall in Lancaster the other day, where the chap had to intervene. So hopefully I don't know the whole story, but hopefully he's treated respectfully, because he did stop that situation from getting out of hand. There was innocents injured or shot, and he prevented it from escalating.
Yeah, certainly, and dealt with quite a few of those in our day, dealing with somebody who prevented an absolute atrocity. And really, the best thing for those folks in those situations is to have as much privacy as possible. They want their lives to go back to normal, or somewhat back to normal. It's never going to go back to never going to be quite the same. But you want to get as close to normal as you possibly can, as quickly as you possibly can. And the more exposure that you have, it's just not going to happen. And you have, I was explaining to Chris, we were talking about this briefly before you came on. You're always going to have people on the anti-gun side who take the position that guy took somebody's life and he's a bad guy. He's a gun owner. He took matters into his own hands, and they harass these people. They stalk these people. They make their families' lives miserable. So if you can stay out of the spotlight, I know that there was somebody from the media saying they were trying to get a hold of him and couldn't find him and asking for leads on him. A lot of times people in these situations, that's their best bet, is to lay low, stay out of the spotlight, and try your best to get some semblance of normality when everything's all said and done.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that you don't hear the mainstream media at the national level coming out and saying, thank God you had this good guy with a gun in this situation, otherwise things would have gotten worse, right? They never say that, do they?
No. And most of the people that I know, if there was a child in danger at a school or something, they would go to the sound of the guns. Like that man in the mall, he saved those ladies and our kids. I mean, he was perfectly entitled to leave, and that would be a smart thing to do. But he did the protector. He went and he had values. He valued family life. He valued life, and he stepped forward and put himself in danger. And the question I would say to these people is this: if there's no police officer around, do you want me to save your family? Do you want me to save your child? Or do you want me to walk away? And unfortunately, we're wired as law-abiding citizens who are trained in the use of firearms. We're wired to protect the innocent and the vulnerable.
Yeah.
But we take our liberty in our hands, and that's why it's important that we have folks like yourself to come and get us.
But do you think that there are too many people in today's society who have taken the opposite approach and have maybe decided they're not going to get involved and do the right thing and help people out who are in need? Because there was a story about a week ago here in the Philadelphia area where a woman was supposedly raped on the train, and there were people sitting there watching. Nobody did anything. As little as call 911. Nobody did anything. Everybody just sitting there. Did you hear about this?
I heard about it.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
It happened again last night. Another SEPTA incident.
Again?
Yeah.
Same kind of thing?
What kind of human being are you that sits there and watches that thing happen?
Right.
And some of them videotaped it and put it on YouTube. What kind of human being are you?
What? That is
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately the society, society seems to be going in that direction. I think with all the craziness with the pandemic and taking away people's civil liberties and freedoms and the fear they put in everybody. But yeah, I don't really understand that. I don't
But is there that much of a stark divide in our society that we're divided on everything, right? There's two separate camps for almost every issue these days. Does it also come down to that where you have the camp of people, like Andrew said, who will run towards gunfire to try to save somebody else versus somebody who will sit on the train and watch somebody get raped and do nothing? Is it that bad? We're that polar opposite in this country?
Well, the facts speak for themselves, unfortunately.
Sure.
Right.
But we have to get back to caring for each other. And there's those who are the sheepdogs, and unfortunately, those are the sheep. And I don't mean that derogatory. There's some of us who are hardwired to do that. In Scotland, if a policeman asks you for assistance, you are legally bound to assist the officer in the execution of his duties. And if you don't, you're actually going to be charged. Now, that is a Scottish law, and it's different from English law. And that's what I was brought up with. And I believe strongly in law and order. And I believe strongly in respect and looking after your neighbors. And just a few words, can I help you? Or what the hell do you think you're doing here? And pull that sort of person off that victim. But yeah, we're definitely, and I've been here over 20 years, and it's a different country from when I came to where we are now. And it's not going in the right direction. And we have to get back to that direction. We have to get back to looking after each other and being nice to each other and respectful. and having a community, because you get the community that you support. So
Yeah, and that's to put it mildly,
Yeah.
Andrew. We have to be nice
Mhm.
to each other. Nice, like don't watch somebody get raped on the train and do nothing about it, right?
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's
It,
crazy.
is, isn't it outrageous that we
Yeah.
even have to say stuff like that out loud? It's
yeah,
Right.
absolutely mind blowing. Andrew, I want to back up a little bit. I want
Yep.
to talk a little bit about when you got in the military, your time there. How long did you say that you served?
as a man and boy, 36 years.
36 years? Is that what you said?
Yeah, from the age of
Yeah.
12 till I
Wow.
was just nearly 48.
You're
So-
too young for that. He's making it up. He's too young to have served 36 years.
Yeah. Well, hey, you can have some. You can have some of my years. Take some of the wear off me. No, I you know, I met my wife overseas. She was in the 82nd Airborne. So we come from a military family. Her dad was in the service. Her brother's been in the service. Her two brothers have been in the service. So is her sister. So we're a service family. And now my youngest is down at Fort Benning. He's a 11 Bravo, an infantryman going in through jump school. And that scares the crap out of me.
Wow.
But you know, he's gone on. So it's you know, you give something to your community. And I think the military reflects the society that we have. And so, you know, unfortunately, not enough people go there and spend some time. I think it was Roosevelt that said, walk quietly, but carry a big stick. And I think that's what we need to do in society. You know, we're going to be there. Yes, we're armed citizens and we're going to be nice to you. But if you turn out that you're going to be an absolute idiot, a hooligan, a violent offender type thing, as we got here now, stand your ground. So we can do it. But the other thing is, you know, if you want to call me names or things, hey, fine, I'll just walk away. But don't push me.
Right.
You know, and I'm just going to walk away. I'm just going to go home. But if you're going to start picking on innocents, you're going to start picking on my family. I know what I have to do to defend it until the law enforcement guys get there. You know yourself. You've got to, you know, restrict the force level that you're using. It's got to be appropriate.
It's funny because you keep talking about how the law is my category, but you're hitting the law right on the head. If you want to talk about what your best bet is, legally speaking, it's don't get involved in altercations if you're somebody who's constantly armed. If you're somebody who's going to be carrying a firearm to protect yourself, to protect your loved ones, you got to understand that if anybody makes any kind of accusation against you, that you pointed a firearm at them and the police show up and you're carrying a firearm, you've got a problem, right?
Yep.
You have to understand that this happens all the time. And we deal with this constantly. And that's why if anybody curses me out on the road or anything like that, yes, you're 100% correct. That is what I am. Correct. You know, it's not my 18, 19-year-old days in Staten Island, New York anymore. You can't do that stuff. You know, your life changes the minute you take on that responsibility. Now, like you said, try to harm me or my loved ones, different ball game. That's not what we're talking about here. But you have to learn to have thick skin and to let things roll off your back and not to play into that sort of stuff. You said wife was in the 82nd, you said?
Yeah, 82nd Airborne.
Is it Fort Bragg, North Carolina?
Yes, sir. It certainly was.
We just had a guest on this program a couple of weeks ago who was over there.
So, yeah, she was a young captain bopping out of the place when I first saw her, and she got my attention, and I thought to myself, oh yeah. And then I looked at it, and she was ticked off about something. So my mother never brought any fools into this world. I thought I'll leave it till she calms down, and so I did. And then she brought me over here, which was one that, you know, God works his miracles in mysterious ways. So they got there. But yeah, she's, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm arrogant. In the British Army, I was good. I was really good. She beats me into a cocked hat. She's
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah? Oh, wow.
She beats me into a cocked hat. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Is she involved with instruction now with you?
She's my background person. She does all my admin stuff and things like that because that's the kind of person she is. She's just happy to be there. But she shoots good too. She keeps me on my toes. I've got to keep my practice up, or you know, some of these days she's going to beat me. But yeah, she's like I tell her, we do these courses and she learns these things. And I say to her, like the NRA tells us to, if you're trained, you are held to a higher standard because you've done the course, you've done the training. This has been explained to you, and you passed the firearm shooting phase, and you passed the test, because everybody gets tested both on the firearm and on the knowledge. And so, she knows that. And sometimes I've got to watch because I know she's looking to catch me on something. Hey guys, you're married. You know what the score is.
Right. Yeah.
Keeping you on your toes.
Yeah. So she's a wee lassie from Massachusetts, and we're down here in Pennsylvania. But yeah, Fort Bragg, Fort Riley, Fort Lee, Aberdeen Proving Grounds. I did the tour, so to speak, on the PCS moves, etc. So, but when she was in Iraqi Freedom 1, she went off to that.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And
she's probably served with Dominic then, because you were talking. Was he out? No, maybe it was the second one. I'm sorry. And maybe different.
Yeah, the 2003, 2004, etc. Well, she was in Fallujah when it really got bad, when they were doing roadside bombs and they didn't have all the equipment. So our youngest was only 5 months then, and I thought she'd be gone for 3 months, maximum 90 days. Yeah, no problem. I'll look after the baby for 90 days. But then it was a stop loss, stop move. And I had to look after him for 15 months. And I'll tell you, my hat's off to the women who raise kids, because that is tough duty. And I will take a deployment before I raise a baby again. I will go overseas. I nearly volunteered, like they used to do in Knights of Old. Like, you send your guy to take your place. I was like, come back, I'll swap you in a heartbeat.
Dude's shooting at you.
Yeah.
Bring on the bullets.
Right.
So, and now the wee man himself, well, he's not that wee, 6'2" now, but he's followed in the tradition, and he's down there. So doing his stuff, and he's having a whale of a time. So really loving it. So God bless him and all his friends that are down there at Fort Benning. They're doing a great job with him. So yeah.
God bless him is right. So what did you do in the military? What were some of your responsibilities, and how was that like?
Well, so legally, what's the statute of limitations on crimes?
Asking for legal advice now.
Oh, yeah. Before I declare myself, maybe I should claim the fifth.
Right.
So I was an infantry guy. Although I was an electrical engineer, I did the infantry. So I was a platoon commander with 30 odd guys. So I was very fortunate in there. I did a little bit of nuclear, biological, chemical warfare stuff there as well. And then I went into the support weapons, the 81 millimeter mortar, heavy machine guns, armored recce's. What else was in there? Milan anti-tank, which was a whale of a time as well. We did that. And so you progress up through the ranks. And the British Army is different from American Army because their senior commanders are up front, whereas in the American Army, your senior guys are back. Sure. So, and we train our guys. So your majors, your field officers are up there because they're your most experienced. So I did that. Then when I went on regular army, went from the reserves into the regular army. It was, you were called ever readies because you're always ready to go, and you became a regular. And so I got sent overseas, and this is where the army has got no sense. So they sent me to a hospital as the ops officer. And then they sent my buddy, who was a nurse, a forensic nurse, they sent him to the an operational headquarters as the intelligence specialist. And I'm like, we're both in square pegs and round hole. And eventually they sorted that out, and it ended up in Sarajevo in this 3-star headquarters. And God bless him, I was chasing Colin Powell when he came to visit to get him to sign my book, My American Journey. And his security detail was that good. They stopped me from going in every exit door, elevator that I could try, and even the fire escape to try and get Colin Powell to sign the book. And I never got it signed. So
that's funny.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, General Petraeus was there as well. He was a 1-star. I stole his 9mm. because it was a Beretta. I wanted it, like, you know. So there's the first crime, but I did return it because my general, my general, who was a 2-star, and he was the guy in charge of ops. He knew that I had that away, and he said, "You haven't seen General Petraeus's pistol by any chance?" And, "Oh, I might have been locked in the army somewhere, sir, like, you know." So I had to return it because my general knew who had it, type thing.
Oh, that's funny.
So, and then he went on obviously to be a 4-star. So, but he went running around the base as well, and I was chatting to him, and he was like, "All my friends are going by," and he said, "Why are you not running with your friends?" I said, "I only have to beat one person in," and he said, "Who's that?" I said, "You." I said, "If I beat you in, it's okay." So God bless him. We're 500 yards for the finish, and he sprinted, and I thought, that's no bad for an old man. So I gave him a 100-yard start, and I caught him at the 300 yards. I said, "Not bad." And then I shot to the line and waited and clapped him in, like, you know. So here you have this 1-star general looking at this brick guy thinking this guy's not right in the head. And he's probably right. So, you know, you get to do
That's a
things
great
like
story.
that.
How was he,
That's
though?
fun.
Was he a decent guy?
Yeah, he was, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So better than some British guys that I've seen, like, you know, a lot of Americans were very laid back. I even tried to join the American Army when I was across there, but that wasn't allowed to happen. So one of the great things I enjoyed, though, is that we adopted the Sarajevo Sick Children's Hospital, and there was a lot of sick kids down there, and you know, suffering from things in the war, and the Serbs used to shell it when the kids were in the hospital and things like that. So we did some humanitarian relief to these kiddies. And this is what soldiers do. They share their rations with the kids. They get to know the kids. They make these connections with the kids. And, you know, it breaks your heart to see some of the things. And in Sarajevo, there was genocide going on because these people couldn't defend themselves. They didn't have a Second Amendment. So when people talk about this, you've been to countries where there's genocide. I've been to places where we've dug up bodies that have been massacred. And then you see these kids, and you know, as a NATO officer, I smuggled in $500,000 worth of drugs to the hospital and then let the paperwork catch up. And there was an American lady in the customs who, very fortunately for me, backdated all the paperwork, so I got to be legal. But those drugs were used immediately, and those were done by soldiers writing home, asking people to send them school books, pencils, clothes, medical supplies, and getting shipments sent in. And they would come in the aircrafts, and then we would do this humanitarian stuff, and then take it in their downtime. They would take this stuff to the kids and to the places. And, you know, watching some of these things, when we took the kids to the DFACT, they'd never seen so much food in their lives. And they would have their plate piled high. And we'd say, "Guys, you can have a food bag to go home." And they were stuffing it in their pockets and up their jerseys because people at home didn't see this thing. And so the humanitarian side of it is phenomenal. And the guys give that of themselves, playing soccer with them, teaching them things, in their own time going down and teach them English, rebuilding projects, rebuilding their homes as they came back as being refugees. And these things are never mentioned. You never see them because that's good news. And, you know, all the people that look at it think, "Oh, you're just bad guys." And the guys get to see this. And 20 years now, and I'm still in contact with some of those people. But some of those kids, they died. And there was not a damn thing I could do about it. And it still haunts me today. And yet it's one of the proudest things I did in my service. And so I was blessed to be given that opportunity. And I would not have missed it for a world. And if I could put the clock back, I'd be back in a heartbeat. So, you know.
That sounds like it had a real lasting impact on you. Is that fair to say?
Some of the happiest days of my life and some of the saddest days of my life. But probably one of the crowning achievements in it as well. And it gives you a different perspective. When I came back overseas, back to here, and listened to the people complaining about things, and I'm like, you have no idea that you're born. One of the bad things about it, Bosnia is strewn with landmines. And I wouldn't walk across the grass. I wouldn't walk across my lawn. I kept to the road. And it was just like you'd go on the sidewalk and you'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. And you'd see people like, So, yeah, you've got to be there. You've got to have seen it. And then some of the horror stories and some of the atrocities. And when Slobodan Milosevic died in the Hague prison for war crimes, you better believe I toasted a few beers because he was gone. He got his just desserts. And it was just crazy. It gave me a glimpse as to how bad it must have been for those guys that were in the Second World War. It was never even anything close to it. But these boys that we've had here since 2001, multiple deployments. I mean, it knocks my service into a cocked hat. They've seen more. 12 years, some of them have been fighting continuously. We owe a great deal to our service people, whether it's Marines, Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Reserve Forces. Pennsylvania gives a massive amount of support in the Reserve Forces. Our society owes them so much. They kicked my service into a cocked hat. It pales in insignificance with what those boys have been doing. So God bless them.
What do you think about what happened just a few weeks ago with leaving Afghanistan, leaving all the equipment behind, and the way that exit took place?
It was a disgrace. A disgrace. Who's going to trust us? Who is going to trust us? We let the people down, we let ourselves down, and we left all that equipment there. Really? I mean, we could have brought that back quite easily. It was, for me personally, it was a disgrace. I mean, our special forces guys were out there, they've been training these peoples, and they did a great job. The Afghani army was let down because certain people got contracts to train them and didn't do the job properly, and they folded. It went down like a house of cards when we were not there to support them. So yeah, it's a great shame.
Right? Days. It was days.
Yeah, it folded in a couple of weeks. All that sacrifice, and now we've got to deal with them. Now they're being made a legitimate government. But I have to also say the corruption over there is phenomenal. We try to impose American values and standards, but we're in a different culture. And we're never going to make it a unified country because they live in autonomous regions, and it's tribe and clan and various other things. And they're never going to be unified. They're always going to be that way. So why do we try and put American-type democracy into a culture that's not ready for it? And it's a great shame because a lot of the people are, they're people, they're just like us.
Right.
They're very friendly, they're courtesy. And then you've got some idiots, a small group of them that are really that bad. When we assisted them to kick the Russians out, we walked away. Had we spent another couple of $1 million putting schools in and some hospitals, we're fighting the children that were fighting the Russians, and they've no recollection that we were there.
Wow.
And we didn't, and it's like every other war we've been in. We started Korea because we didn't talk about them, and somebody thought, the Americans not interested in Korea, so we went to Korea. We wouldn't support Ho Chi Minh, who was our ally during the Second World War, because he had the name communist, and he adopted communist because it was just a tool to get him to what he wanted. But MacArthur was running about, and then we ended up in Vietnam, which cost us 57,000 lives. And then we backed the other wrong horse. We backed Saddam Hussein, and we went to go kick his ass. And we did the same thing. We backed the wrong horse, and then we have to go fix it, and it costs us a lot. So we can't be the world's policeman. So
is that the moral of the story?
I think so.
It keeps happening again and again and again.
But we don't learn.
Yeah.
Quite a pattern there. Well, it's the military-industrial complex too.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a good point, right? Some people are making
Mhm.
money on this stuff, aren't
Making
they?
a lot of money on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But we need to get our industrial complex back up and running. Just look what's happening in China. That's the biggest
Mhm.
threat that we've got. They want to be us.
right.
So I'm not warmongering. I'm just, it just bothers me what they do. They steal our secrets and everything else. So, and the only people who are going to stop them are going to be our military.
Mm.
The great thing about America, and going back to the Second Amendment, is we have citizen soldiers. You look at the letter that Truman wrote to the NRA at the end of the Second World War, 75 years ago, thanking the NRA for its service to the country, to the military, to the police, to the fact that their instructors ended up being deputies and sheriffs throughout the country, and for training the people and having the citizen soldier, and the key word, citizen soldier, available, and for the training programs that they put forward. Because of their expertise, they were able to get America off the ground and running for the Second War. And so President Truman wrote that letter, and it's not widely known. Things have deteriorated in the last 75 years to the state that we're at. We don't go hunting with the AR-15s with 100-round magazines. It's the smallest bullet in the armory that we've got, and it's not good for shooting deer. We put that down, and I've not yet seen a 100-round magazine. And they're not assault rifles; they're semi-automatics. They look something similar because we have this love of our military, and so they go on with that. But the hunters, the Pennsylvania Game Commission, don't allow you to go shooting with a semi-automatic firearm, and they limit the amount of ammunition that you can have in a rifle to give the game a fair chance to get away. So, and yet 6% of all the guns and 6% of the ammunition goes to the upkeep of this beautiful country that we've got here. And so, those things are never told. So there's lots of people out there doing everything's day by day, good, honest, law-abiding, upstanding, armed citizens, and they're 99.9% of it, of the population, and nobody hears anything about it. And I have to laugh. You want to tell me where things are going wrong? Look at Chicago, strictest gun laws in the world.
Sure.
Well, you could say the same thing on Baltimore, Maryland, right? Newark, New Jersey.
But it's my fault that they can't control what they're doing, and you put bad guys in jail, and there's no bail. You let them go out. There's no bail. What's that all about? So it's not me that's the problem.
It's very surprising that gun control doesn't cure murder, right? You can't legislate.
Right.
We could just make this law, and they'll stop killing each other.
But there's more people killed with knives and axes and hammers and screwdrivers than there are with firearms. And they keep quoting this number, 39,000, of which half of those are suicides.
2/3.
You look at the other half. Yeah.
2/3, but who's counting?
Yeah. Right. The other half are in the cities, and you can see the ages, and it's young people who are involved in gangs. They don't have a stable influence in their family. They've got poor education, they've got poor housing, and they've got poor job prospects. And so they have to go to a gang to survive in that environment. So there's a social economic issue there. And until we resolve that issue, we're not going to do. So they keep quoting these numbers at me. But you look at the CDC figures. What about the 126,000 people that die every year from secondary infections from hospitals? What about the 500,000 people that die every year from cancer? 500,000, 123,000, 39,000. Yes, it's bad that these people have died, but in the scale of things, we have bigger issues to face. And making gun-free zones, that is a welcome home sign to the idiots that want to come and do children harm.
Come on in.
Yeah, but schools are only 25% where active shooters go. 44% are in businesses. And then the rest are in, they're going for churches and things like that. But obviously our children are a very emotive thing for us. And so we need to do something. So that making these places gun-free zones, unfortunately, it just says, come on in and do what you want to do, for your 5 minutes of infamy.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, John Lott put it this way to me one time. He said, what it comes down to is if someone were stalking you or a family member, somebody in your household, would you feel more or less safe advertising on the outside that guns weren't allowed in the home?
So,
It's just that simple. It's
so
just that simple.
you know John Lott then, Dr. John Lott.
Yeah, he served as an expert witness in one of my cases. We've kept in touch throughout the years.
Yeah, I like reading his materials. He's a
Very
guy
sharp,
that,
though.
yeah, he is a very sharp. And the great thing about him is that he has no prejudice. He's got no loyalty to any political party. He's straight down the middle, and his research is 100%. He knows his stuff.
You ever read a Guy Smith?
No, I've not read him yet.
Check out Guy Smith. He's another guy in a similar field. He's written a lot of books about the issue. Very sharp guy. He's been on our program several times. His most recent book is called Guns and Control. His name is Guy Smith. Everybody should check that out if you haven't already.
Yeah.
We're talking about some serious stuff here. I wanted to go back to what you were saying about the lack of families and guidance in these inner cities where you have these high murder rates and these high crime rates, where they have very stringent, oppressive is really what we should call it. We should say they're oppressive gun control measures because, when you call them strict and tough and everything like that, it kind of makes it sound like it's a good thing, but it's not. It's really only hurting people who want to be able to protect themselves in the inner cities. One of the things that Lott actually showed with one of his studies is that when you increase the ability for people to carry concealed firearms, the two groups who are most predominantly impacted positively almost immediately are the elderly and minorities in inner cities, because they now have an ability to protect themselves. And it's the great equalizer, as they always call it. But you talked about the lack of family values and guidance, and that's an excellent point, because that's really the one thing that's changed over time in this country. It's not as if access to firearms has changed in making it easier to get a hold of firearms over the last 5 or 6 decades. That's just simply not true. It's never been more difficult to get a firearm in this country. It's not like it used to be really hard and then they made it really easy, and that's when all the murders went out of control. It used to be far easier, right? It used to be way easier, and they made it more stringent and more stringent, more stringent, and yet we have these issues as far as the people killing each other in these inner cities. Now, when you're talking about the lack of guidance and family values and everything, it seems that you've sort of been called to address the youth in many different facets of your life, because you talked about your time overseas, and you also talked earlier about giving instruction to younger kids and everything like that. And for a brief period, talked about how when you were younger, you were sort of on the wrong path, and that could have ended up as a bad thing. What do you think it is that has sort of brought you to this calling to help, the youth of our country and the youth of our world, really? Because you've done it not only in our country, but elsewhere. What do you think it's been that's drawn you to that?
Okay. When I was growing up, my father was a violent alcoholic, and my mother suffered great domestic abuse, as did I. And the first time I hit my father, I was 12 years of age. The first time I beat my father was 14 years of age. And I'm not proud of that. But I didn't have a father in that aspect. And people like Pete Kennedy, Eddie McIntosh, Phillips, guys who actually took the time to mentor me, they were there, they were listening. And eventually it became more important to me to be a cadet than actually be at home. But I knew I had to be at home because I was doing domestic violence. So I have this strong hatred. I wouldn't say, well, not hatred. I dislike immensely people who beat up on innocents. And so that's that there as well. And having suffered as a child with, being beaten up and no mentor, Um, I didn't want other kids to go through that. So I was fortunate. I mean, I was a street punk. I had my own street gang when I was 12 years of age. And you didn't come into my neighborhood before I got it. But I didn't know any different. There was no one there to say there was a better way. And I had to walk away from that. And I was fortunate that someone got that. So when you're that fortunate, you understand and you can relate. And some of these kids think that they're bad today. They have no idea what I was up to. I invented the book that you think you're using. But and then to see them and relate to them, and you know, they understand that you genuinely care. And then you start helping them with their homework and various other things. And you show them how to survive as individuals, how to keep themselves clean, how to keep themselves fed and dressed, and respect the countryside, respect one another. And you become a surrogate to them. And, you know, you get telephone calls when they've got issues, and some of them are rather tragic. And so there's a lot of people out there that are doing that. And unfortunately, the Boy Scout movement is getting a very, very bad press by a small minority. But that's like anything in our society. You can't even do it in church. So there's that there. There was a young man here. His family broke apart. And he came to our house and he was having supper. And we were sitting around the table and we were talking. And he leant across to my son and he said to him, "Do you do this every night?" And Wyatt went, "Yes." And he said, "What do you do?" "Well, I have my supper in my room. My brother has his supper in the room. My dad's in the basement. My mother's in the kitchen." And his family broke apart because they didn't have this bond. There wasn't a time when people were coming and saying, "What's your day been? What have you been up to? Where are you going?" And kids want to know where the boundaries are. They want a roof over their head. They want to know that someone loves them, and they want 3 square meals a day. They don't need all the fancy gizmos. They just need to know that I can go out, I can do things, and if I fall on my butt, someone's there to pick me up. And someone has sent, this is the right way to do things. You've got to make decisions. And you know yourself, because right is right and wrong is wrong. And you're told that from an early age, yes or no. So I didn't have it. I was fortunate enough when I got my own kids that I knew, and it was a hard struggle. And you know, my youngest made me a much better man than what I was. And so you give some of that back. And through him in the Scouts, I've got memories that I would never had as a boy growing up. But I was able to share that with some of these young guys and watch them develop. I had boys from the age of 6 as Cub Scouts that went all the way through to be Eagle Scouts at 18 years. I had them for 12 years. They were like second kids to me. So it's important for kids to have a mentor that someone takes. And the Boys and Girls Clubs, and you see them, and there's guys out there in their communities struggling against the odds to try and keep these kids out of gangs, to try and keep them in education, to try and keep them from getting pregnant, and try and break the cycle that is going on. And that's where we need to be focusing. All this money that we go overseas, yeah, great, fine, I appreciate that. I'm from Scotland. Charity begins at home. Let's make sure kids have got 3 square meals a day. Let's make sure that there's someone there for them. Let's give them decent books. Let's give them education. Let's give them, and I don't care what kind of kids you are. You're an American. I don't care if you're Chinese, African American, Polish American, Irish American, Italian American, whatever. You're an American first and foremost, and you're a kid. And they want to know they're secure. They want to know they're loved. They want to know that someone cares about them. There's no such thing as a bad kid. It's bad parenting, or a society that doesn't give a toss.
Sure. We got a comment over here from Jeremy saying, "Same here, though I have a better relationship with my father now. There were many fist fights between us from the time I was 12 until I left for the Air Force." So sounds like he had a similar situation as you did. And sometimes we see that people who are the victims of abuse as children from their parents can go one of two ways. Either they can do what you've done, what Jeremy seems to have done, and decide, I'm going to be the best dad I possibly can be. and I'm going to help out other people, and I'm going to, do for other people what I didn't have done for me. I want to make that difference for the positive. And the other trajectory, unfortunately, seems to be that they continue that cycle. Well, this is what was done to me, so I'm just going to continue on the cycle, and I'm going to continue that forward.
Yes.
Was going for the first option just natural and instinctive to you, that you knew from early on, hey, this ain't right, and I want to do something about this? Was that prominent to you? Because I often wonder how people who have had that done to them just continue on that cycle. It's really sad.
I think more than anything, I stumbled upon this.
Mm.
And Eddie McIntosh, Sergeant Major Eddie McIntosh, was the guy that, he cleaned my clock when I was being the snotty-nosed street gang punk and being disrespectful to him. And he decked me. And I was like, this is new to me. Yeah, it was. I was like, what's this all about? This guy didn't even put up with any of my crap. And I didn't even see it coming, and I was down. So I thought, I think I'll stick around and do that. But you're right. But kids who grow up like this, they carry baggage. I carried baggage. I didn't get rid of the monkey on my back for umpteen years. It psychologically impacts you, and you carry this thing with you. And I'm afraid there's a degree of psychosis to it as well, which drives to the point that you're talking about. Do you actually go this way and try and do a good life, or do you go the other way and you actually become a mirror image of the person that you hate most in the world, but that has been the standard for you? And so how do you break the cycle? And for me, I was fortunate that I stumbled upon this, but I know that I carried this baggage. And the good Lord, God bless him, has guided me. And I've railed against him many a time. I've argued and said, how can you let this go on? And, I told the wife, he's not listening. And she says, perhaps you need to, he's not answering my prayers. And she said, perhaps you need to listen more because he's always kept me out of trouble, no matter how bad I have been. And I have been bad. I'm surprised it didn't get picked up. But yeah, you've got to have someone that guides you. But I know that I'm damaged goods. And so the last 20 years have been the best, the quietest, most law-abiding years of my life. Because, the 11th commandment, don't get caught. And the military gave me some structure, but I mean, I was a wild guy. I looked after my troops, perhaps not the best way. But I've been so fortunate. And now you've got to give something back. And this is what I do, is what I do. I like it so much. And I have to give something back. It's just in me. I owe so much to so many people. And then we're going to have to do it. So, like my friend in the Air Force, I'll not be derogatory. He served this time, and thank you for your service, whoever you are, sir. We go there. It gives us a safety net. It gives us a breathing space. It shows us there's a different way. It teaches us self-reliance. It teaches us about friendships that we never had. I've got people that I've served with, which are more important to me than my own family. And I will drop a hat and travel 3,000 miles for them if they're in trouble, because we've shared so much. We've cried together, we've drank together, we've bled together, we've shivered together, we've slept in the same sleeping bags, and we've done other things which I won't mention because there's probably so. But you have this.
Please
and,
do.
Yeah, some of those guys I've not seen.
Let's get back to that sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Turn
I've
into
not
the
seen
Howard
them.
Stern show over here.
Right.
I've not seen them for 25 years, and when I see them, I realize that they've aged, but in my mind, they're still who they were 25 years ago, and that will never change. And so I'm blessed, I'm fortunate. But someone has to be there. Someone has to reach out. And some of these guys who've been criminals and are going out there and say, you don't want to go to prison, God bless them as well. I mean, they didn't start, they started off wrong, and they're turning their lives around as well. So, you know, what I do is what I do, and I'm fortunate enough that I get to do a great program with the NRA. I get to teach people to be responsible, to have the right attitude, to see them develop, and I do that with kids as well. And I don't know why I'm so lucky or so blessed, given where I started as to where I am now. So,
When did you end up coming to the States?
in 2000, I started coming across in 2000. I came over permanently in 2002 and started earning my citizenship. And I have to tell you, there is no country in the world gives a resident all the protections of the Constitution, apart from the right to vote.
Right.
I couldn't believe that I could actually buy a firearm as a soldier guy. Of course, you know, you want to get a firearm, and so I did. I bought my first gun in Junction City at Fort Riley. Was a 9mm high power Browning, the one I'd trained on in the army, and I couldn't believe that as a non-citizen I was allowed to buy that and have the Second Amendment. And the only thing I didn't get was the right to vote. No country in the world extends that hospitality or those protections to the people that come here. And then people say, why did you become an American citizen? Are you kidding me? Have you been some places that I've been in the world? Do you understand what you've got here? Huge. I wondered why you never had passports. You don't need passports. You want to go in the mountains, you go to the mountains. You want to go skiing, you go skiing. You want to go on the coast, you go on the coast. You want to go in the desert, you go to the desert. You've got everything contained within the shores. Yeah, it's just phenomenal.
It's funny you mentioned that because Jeremy, to your sleeping bag comment, says what happens in the mountains of Washington stays there. He's the gentleman who's in the
Yeah.
Unless you're on the Mike G in the Morning show.
Yeah.
United States. The best thing about the United States is the freedom to go sleep in a sleeping bag with another dude in the mountains.
That's right.
Yeah.
No permits necessary, sir.
We're doing the show from the Appalachian Trail next week.
Yeah, hot bagging. Yeah, you know.
Hot bagging. That's what it's
Hot
called.
bagging. Yeah, somebody had warmed it up for you. Like you got in there, like you were grateful for it.
Hot bagging.
Yeah, hot bagging.
I do want to ask you this. As someone who's not born in the United States, talked about how important the right to keep and bear arms is to prevent things like genocide, things that you witnessed with your own eyes. There are a lot of people in this country who have never witnessed something like that with their own eyes and don't care to learn about history and things that have taken place throughout the course of our universe, let's just say. And you hear a lot of people on the anti-gun side these days specifically saying that we should abolish the Second Amendment, that private citizens do not need to own firearms, and we should put an end to private gun ownership, and it doesn't belong in any civilized society. We see op-ed after op-ed published in major newspapers putting forth this idea. What would you say to somebody who takes that position and says something like, things like genocide will never happen in this country. It'll never happen here. That can't happen anymore. You're being paranoid by saying that. It's not going to happen, so we don't need private gun ownership in this country. What would you say to somebody who says that?
Well, you're sadly mistaken. The Constitution was built by our founding fathers, and it was there for a reason, and it has survived for these several hundreds of years. And you have to look at other countries and see what these individuals didn't have the opportunity to do so. Having seen genocide, and the people did not have the means to defend themselves, digging up the bodies, seeing people 10 years after the end of the war still searching for their loved ones, seeing bodies that have not been claimed, that have not been identified by DNA in warehouses.
Crazy.
You know, the human misery is unreal, and you know, those people that are there and they suffer, and they're not leaving for a better life. They're staying where they are, hoping against hope that their loved one is going to come home, and we're digging their bodies up from mass graves. You know, and some of them were well preserved in the ground, and they had their hands tied behind their back. and they had bullets in the back of their head. And there was a wee kiddie who was in the grave, and she didn't have a bullet in her. But when her mother got shot, her mother went into the grave, and she took the child in with her, and the weight of the mother smothered the child in the thing. So, for those that can sit on their in their houses and in their comfort and not understand that these people did not have the right or did not have the ability to defend themselves and to live a life, did not have the chance to grow up in their place, and they say that, you know, the citizens don't need it. Well, the citizens have actually proven them wrong in this last 18 months that we've seen because of this COVID and everything else that's been happening and rioting and burning and things of this nature. Over 2 million firearms were purchased because people are concerned that defunding the police, they didn't have a safety net, so their only safety net was themselves, and that's why we train them. But there's not been a corresponding spike. Not one of those 2 million people went out and robbed a bank or held someone up or did things. So there hasn't been a corresponding spike to say all these guns out there and all these people are doing things. There has been a drop down. In certain places, of course, the murders are going on, and that has to do with the social structure of our country, because people are suffering mentally from being locked down. So never ever allow our constitution to be degraded. I have to ask why 73 senators from our country went to New York and signed a UN mandate that said we should, or the UN could come into this country and take the guns from US citizens. When did the UN become part of my constitution? And why are duly elected senators signing that when you're supposed to be my representative? Now, it's supposed to be dealing with military firearms, that's fine, but the wording of it allows them to take UN troops, bring UN troops into America to confiscate your firearms. God forbid that God forbid that you're stupid enough to try that, because you're not part of my country. But why did those 70-odd senators sign that? You actually did not honor the constitution of this country. You took an oath to defend against the constitution against enemies, all enemies, foreign and domestic, and you went and signed that. So never ever let our constitution be degraded in any way. Our founding fathers did great work, and it's necessary today as it was at any time. And it protects people. It's a known fact. I think the FBI statistics say that somewhere in America, and during the course of a year, something like 2.3 million responsible armed American citizens end an event by drawing their firearm. They don't shoot it, they just draw it, and the perpetrator clears off, like the coward they are, because they're bullies and various other things. He sees he hasn't got a chance, and he clears off. And they didn't fire a shot, but they protected themselves and protected their loved ones. And those are statistics that they don't say, that 2.3 million people got to go home. And that's in the FBI stats, but they don't want to hear that.
Right. Yeah. CDC put out a study a few years back using between 500,000 and 3 million defensive gun uses every year in this country. And even at the lowest end, if you want to go with the anti-gun analysis, when they put out their studies, they always say, no, that's too many. It's really more like only 60,000 every year, which is still 59,999 more than we heard about on the news.
Right. So I've got to take my hat off to every responsible American that exercises his Second Amendment and goes out and buys a firearm and obeys the laws. I wished that they train themselves, they understand the responsibility that they've now taken on. The NRA has got some great programs. United States Concealed Carry has got some great programs. US Law Shield has got education programs. There's lots of organizations out there that will give you the skills, the knowledge, and the attitude to overcome these prejudices that we're seeing out there. And it's up to us to be the ambassadors that says to these folks, we understand where you're coming from. We're both looking for the same thing. We want a society that is respectful of each other that is lawful. You want to do it with your Bible and your placard, and I'm prepared to stand on the wall. I will support you to do whatever it is you want to do. But when push comes to shove and the outlaws, and there's a reason they're called outlaws, because they're outside the laws, but when the outlaws don't do it, someone's got to stand tall until the law enforcement guys get there. Where I am, if something hits the fan, it's 45 minutes before the staties get to me.
Sure.
I've got a police station a mile and a half down the road, but I'm outside their jurisdiction. They won't come for me.
Wow.
I have to wait for the staties. So our Constitution, one of the best things in the world.
What
are
do
your
you
thoughts,
think it is?
Andrew, on
Oh, go ahead.
go
Go ahead, Chris. First of
I
all,
was
Chris,
just-
when you were coughing,
Yeah.
were you coughing for real, or was that you're trying to send us a message to something that Andrew was saying? Seems like an awfully convenient cough.
Yeah, it was a little convenient. Yeah, I was talking about like the New World Order and the Great Reset, you know, some of the things that we've talked about on the show a little bit when you were talking about the UN stuff, because I think that there's a lot of things going on, you know, behind the scenes you don't really hear reported on the mainstream media that often. Some of the things we talked about on the show, but yeah, those are. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's pretty concerning when you see things like that going on.
The UN is what I call United Nonsense. They should take their headquarters and take it to Geneva. Here you have diplomats from all over the world, and diplomats are supposed to represent their country. The diplomats up there in New York owe millions upon millions of dollars in unpaid fines. They break our laws, and yet you would have thought a diplomat would respect our laws. And that's just the UN, and that's the attitude. And they come across. They take our dollars for aid and various other things and vote against us. So, you know, talk about biting the hand that feeds you. So UN is United Nonsense. You know,
at least
the concept
Trump is doing some things to change it, but
the concept is good. The application is abysmal. So,
what are your thoughts, Andrew, on some of the, you know, based on your worldview and your experiences with, you know, coming from another country and some of the things you've seen with your military experience? You know, what's your take on what's happened here in the United States over the past, you know, year and a half, 2 years with the coronavirus and the mandates and the masks and the vaccines? You know, if you'd care to talk about that, what is your sense on what's transpired and where we're headed as a country? What concerns you the most?
Well, you know, the CDC, first and foremost, is supposed to be a world-class center for disease control. And why didn't you adopt the best practices in the world? And I would cite New Zealand, a country of 5 million that had 33 deaths in the first year. Multiply that by 60 to equate it to our country, and then we would only have had 1,800 deaths. So why didn't you adopt their best practices? You know, irrespective of what you think about President Trump, he told these companies, the drug companies, here's your money, spend your time, find me a vaccine. And he got that going. Didn't get any recognition for it, but, you know, that's the way it goes. And then, you know, we now have this mandate where people are getting very upset that they are being forced to have the vaccines. The unfortunate thing is, with the freedom of speech, anybody can say anything, and there's a lot of confusion out there, and people are out and out lying and causing people to lose their lives because they don't have the true picture of what this thing is doing and what the remedy is to get themselves there, and they're dying needlessly. So that's been bad. They've cooked them up in you can't do this, you can't do that. The kids are suffering terribly because they're not at school, and they need that social interaction. And that's having a mental effect that will last for a long time. It also drives the parents crazy as well, because they're with them 24/7, and so there's no respite. And then you saw the lawlessness that was going on in the thing and various other things. You've got a right to protest. That's fine, but you haven't got the right to destroy someone's building, to be an arsonist, to kill other citizens because you don't like their viewpoint. And it's this melting pot with the COVID, with the pressures, with the kids, with people being out of work. We just was it engineered, or did we just did we just lose control? No, in the UK, they were locked down forever. I mean, they were locked down, totally locked down, and they had the police out arresting you, and they had the tip line that said you had too many people in your place and things like that. So other places went absolutely ridiculous. Now Sweden and Norway there's just like, we're not doing it. They went for herd immunity.
I'm sure you've seen what's going on in Australia as well.
Yeah. That is just crazy. The police are forced to do the enforcement, and the citizens are railing against it. And Australians speak their mind. They're not happy teddies.
No.
And then you talk about they had gun confiscation there as well, and then the crime rate went back up. But now there are more Australians having small arms than there was before. So you hear the gun control mob saying, "Oh, look at Australia, we did exceptionally well there." Yeah, and the crime rate and the murder rate went up through the roof, and now the guys are back owning firearms.
Right.
But
people don't realize that.
Yeah, we've damaged ourselves as a society, and it's going to take a long time for people to get more tolerant and look after. I mean, you've got family members dying in hospital and you can't get to see them. You're talking to your mother through a window at a nursing home, and that might be the last time you see them. What a memory to have. So we didn't do ourselves any favors. That had to be. We were knee-jerk reaction all the way. And I showed a video that the Brits had done, and it was a cartoon type thing. And it explained explicitly what this thing was going to do to you. It's a biological, I call it a biological weapon because it gets into your system and it does things to you. It searches. And I was told that it was too frightful. It was too scary. And I was like, you need to be scared of this thing. And then somebody said to me, it's not approved by the CDC. I was like, send it to them. Get it approved, because people need to understand what it is. And once you've got all the facts that are openly and honestly reported, then you can make an informed decision for you. I can't force you. That's the great thing about this country. You're free to do what you want. But I can't force you to do that. You've got to, if you have the right facts, but there's too much distortion, and it's polarized and politicalized, and people are suffering because of it.
Do you see the freedom slipping away a little bit? Like, I'm curious about your perspective, having seen some of the things you've seen, with the mandates and people losing their jobs and people in the military being forced to get vaccinated. I mean, it seems pretty unprecedented.
Well, where's the freedom of that?
Right.
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, the poor military are an instrument of the government. But I watched the Texas governor, and he's saying, "Hey, we're not going to do it." But you knew when you stood up there on the platform that federal law is going to overrule state law. And Mike can testify to that. He's the legal expert here. But he's playing to the gallery. But you're not looking after people's lives. You're putting people in danger. So yeah, freedom has been eroded. Absolutely has been eroded. And it's okay if you're like Bloomberg and you've got millions of dollars and various other things, and Stravos and all them people that go funding these things and yet actively work against our Constitution. So freedom has been eroded. There is absolutely no doubt that freedom has been eroded. And people have suffered for it because you couldn't go to work and various other things, but they didn't explain it to them. They made a political battle of it, and that's okay. But when people die because of your intransient attitudes, that's wrong. We put you there to be the servant of the people. Which part of the Constitution did you forget? We can vote you in. Government for the people, by the people. And there's those elite up there, and the rest of us are just, having our freedoms eradicated bit by bit. So,
unfortunately, yes.
And we've got it. You can fight for your freedoms, and I hope that we're a long way from actually armed insurrection, because I can't support that. I took the oath of the Constitution to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Don't force me to stand up for the law, because that's who I am. There's a right way. There's a right way. There's a wrong way. I have to be on the side of law and order, irrespective of I'm right or wrong, until the laws change, or unless my values change as a person.
Right.
And I can't see that happening.
Why is it that so many
Absolutely.
people lose their minds whenever somebody states the historical fact that the Second Amendment's in place to prevent tyranny?
Yeah.
You notice that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have people on the news saying there's this radical view out there saying that the Second Amendment's there to prevent tyranny, and you got Biden out there saying, "Oh well, it's not there to prevent tyranny because you guys don't have nukes," right?
Yeah. Well, you've got to understand your history, because if you don't understand your history, you're doomed to make the same mistakes. And unfortunately, we don't understand our history in this country. Not only American history, but American history in the world and things that we've done. And there's a reason, and there's a reason it was there. And I don't see a reason for changing it. And if you want to take my Second Amendment away, what are you going to give up? Because you're taking something away from me. So why? Why do you want to do that? And what are you prepared to give up? But I'm certainly not prepared to give up my Second Amendment rights. And, you know, as an NRA certified instructor, I have a duty to make sure that these people in Pennsylvania are safe, are trained, recognize the law, talk to people like Mike and John Lott, and do their own research. Do not accept what is spoon-fed to you on these people. And the talking heads are ignorant. I saw somebody offer up a 12-gauge shotgun and claimed it was an AR. And it was on national TV. And I'm like, really?
Yep.
And then I saw some numpty that was in a range with a reporter, and he had the guy firing the rifle, the AR-15, down range, and he was pointing to the sky, and his stance and position was unreal. It was like you were on the torture rack. And he claims he was an instructor. And where did you find that idiot? He certainly wasn't NRA certified, or he certainly wasn't USCCA certified. So he couldn't instruct me how to open a paint pot, never mind anything else. But yeah, I think you're right. You guys,
probably a plant.
You guys are doing great with this freedom and getting the message out there to people. Because if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
Andrew, if somebody's listening to this and they say, "I love this guy, I want to do some training with him," how do they get to do some training with you?
Well, first and foremost, there's a whole network of NRA certified instructors out there. Depending what they are. I mean, I can't see someone from Philadelphia traveling all the way to.
Hey, if people want to train with you specifically, I've done cases in Tioga County and Pittsburgh. I've been in 37 counties in Pennsylvania because people want the guy who does X, Y, or Z, right? Yeah. So if they've listened to this interview and they said, "That's my guy, I want to train with him, I'll drive a couple hours." I mean, Andrew, have you never have you never gone out of state for training?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, people go to Virginia all the time.
Yeah, as an instructor, it behoves me to make sure that my skills are up so that when I travel out of state, I will actually get the training course I want, come back and use that experience to better my So I've been far afield, 3 days traveling and things like that. Okay, so thank you very much to whoever it is that wants to come. My email is my initials, Alpha Papa Whiskey 9957 at yahoo.com. And my number is 491-5810. That's 491-5810.
What's the area code on that?
Area code is 717, of course. Sorry.
717. Yeah. All right. So you said Alpha Papa Whiskey 9957 at yahoo.com.
Yeah.
And 717-491-5810.
Yeah.
I'm sending it out on the chat through the Etherverse, as they call it. Does anybody call it that? I don't know why they say it. I said that as they call it. Does anybody call it? What is it? Yeah. The Internet Universe?
So I have to give it that way because my A's and my E's sound very similar over the phone or something like that. But again, I speak the Queen's English, and you guys have got this thing that it's called
It
Americanese.
doesn't sound like a Brooklyn dirtbag and Billy Crystal.
No, I mean that's the great thing. You've got your accent, and Chris has got his accent, and everybody else is there, like, you know. And I pick up on that, and it's a great icebreaker because I ask people where they've been or where they're from, and sometimes I get second or third generations, and I say, you're whoever it is, someone in your family is either Italian or they're French or they're German, and they look at me and say, how do you know? Because I can hear it in your syntax when you speak to me, because I'm tuned into that. And then, well, sometimes I get a wee bit hostile, like, where's your name from? And they're like, look at me, you're picking on me because I'm an immigrant. I can talk.
Yeah, right.
So, but it's a great thing, and yet we insist on putting labels on each other. But the thing that we all have, irrespective of where you come from or who you are or what your genetic background is, we are all Americans, first, second, and last. And that's the message that we've got to get back to people. And instead of being divisive, we need the jigsaw to come back together and have fun doing it.
Nice.
And if you can't have fun doing it, then you're a miserable human being. So you better have a sense of humor. Whoever the person is that wants to come and shoot with me, you better have a sense of humor, because that's how our lessons go. So, but I'm not as crazy as Mike when he's doing his demonstrations. He's like the American Billy Connolly of the legal aspects of firearms.
It's funny.
I don't know where you get your energy from. I mean, what was that? Was that 3 hours in your presentation? Monster. Is that what
part
it
of the
is?
episode? Is brought to you in part
You
by
see,
Monster.
I do have this. You see that
There's the
there?
book.
There you go.
Yeah,
He wasn't kidding.
Nice.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding. See the bookmark? It's in
Bookmark
there as
and
well.
all.
Like,
He's been reading
it's in
it.
there as well. Like,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Second edition, the new one.
Yeah, well, they've got $5 words in there. I've got to actually get a dictionary out and try and transpose what that means.
Oh, come on. I tried to make that as plain English as possible.
Well,
you're breaking my heart over here.
Hey, no, I'll tell you though, for any responsible armed American citizen, this book is worth its weight in gold. It's a great reference for me type thing. And here, let me ask you this question, because it bothers me. Obviously, we've got this law going on here in Pennsylvania. It says if you have a firearm on school property, you're in a whole crap load of trouble.
Yeah.
But the paragraph that is never noticed is paragraph B, that says if you are carrying a firearm for a self-defense legally, it may be part of your defense for when you get caught.
Yeah, because the law has an exemption for, it says, other lawful purpose. And so the argument for years and years has been whether carrying a firearm for self-defense is a lawful purpose as described by that particular exemption. Over the years, there have been several instances at the lower court levels, meaning the trial level, where somebody's been arrested and tried for this particular offense when they were carrying under a license to carry firearms for self-defense. There was a case, the Dr. King case out of Somerset County years ago, where he was simply carrying on school grounds under a license to carry firearms, and they ultimately charged him under this law. Now, he got ARD, which is a pretrial intervention program, where if you complete the requirements, the case gets dismissed, your record gets expunged, which was good for him, but it was bad for everybody else because we didn't get a ruling from the court one way or the other. Then more recently, you had the Goslin case, which had to do with a guy who carried a knife on school grounds. A little bit of a long story. Ultimately, the court found that he did have a lawful purpose, or at least the jury should have been able to decide whether he was entitled to that exemption based on the surrounding circumstances, because initially the trial court didn't even let the jury consider whether he had a lawful purpose. The court said he should have. And so people jumped to conclusions right after that and said, hey, we could use this to carry guns at schools. What I said was not so fast, because there's still some room for argument here if you got a motivated prosecutor. And I have heard of prosecutions taking place since then. I actually got a call from a public defender's office telling me that a case that they were dealing with a few months after the Goslin case. I think there's some very good language in the Goslin case if someone were to get caught. But Bottom line is we need another test case to get this all straightened out. So if any volunteers are out there, I don't think anybody wants to be the test case, but my recommendation would be stay away from school grounds.
Yeah, I don't want to be the.
And this is
Castro.
not legal advice to anybody who's listening, because if it's legal advice, you get a bill at the end, right? Unless everybody wants to send me a cash in on the bill.
Well, thanks for answering that, because it's bothered me for some time, and I don't get a straight answer from the staties when I ask the staties about that particular thing, and they look at me as if like, why are you carrying that in your folder?
Right.
And the reason I asked the question is, I actually in Shippensburg High School, I was leaving their office, and a kid was walking in with his backpack, and unbeknownst to me at the time, he had a 9mm pistol in it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Really?
and I was buck ass naked. Fortunately, fortunately he was, he didn't do anything.
Did he have bad intentions?
No, I did not. But he brought it. Now, whether he was showing off to his friends, but the possibility of that going pear shape was there. And I walked past him, and an hour later, I found out that the school was in high alert and various other things. So I was like, that was too close for comfort. We were literally 10 feet apart. And then had he decided to kick off,
you would have had nothing more than harsh language.
A size 9 boot that Jock Penman gave me. So, But
your long that unfortunately that long answer is the shortest answer you can provide while being thorough, because it's an area that it's been litigated quite a bit over the years. It would be way easier if the legislature would just go ahead and clarify one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
If the lawmakers would go in and say, hey, what we mean is if you have a license to carry, you can carry on school grounds. Or, hey, no, that's not what we meant. Nobody can carry on school grounds except for these following people. But of course, they don't want to make anybody's lives easier, right? They want a bunch of test cases. They want accidental criminals out there.
Well, you can see in certain states that they've actually trained teachers to carry, and they've clearly stated we have armed response on these schools, and they're not suffering any of these school incidences, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in Ohio, or whatever the case happens to be. And the training is stringent for them as well. They take over 6 months of training to make sure that these teachers are competent in what they do. And God bless them for doing what they're doing, because it's a hell of a job teaching some of these snotty-nosed kids these days with their attitudes. And you see them on TikTok, slap a teacher. I mean, really?
Oh, yeah.
So what we've got to do, we've got to look after our
Social
teachers.
media.
They're the ones that are the youth as the leaders of tomorrow. Today's youth, tomorrow's leaders. They're going to take the flag, and they're going to run. They're going to have this country. We've got to give them everything that we possibly can. So God bless the teachers for what they do. I could never do it.
I heard about the TikTok challenges. The one was that they were putting crazy glue on the toilet seats.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like that's been around for a long time, even when I was a kid.
That's
But
funny.
then they had one with, what's that?
It was cling film.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's not
that's
as
a good
bad,
one.
right? That's
Oh,
not
God
bad.
help me if it gets out and the kids start using cling film. All the school boards will be after me.
They're like, hey, that's a good idea, Mr. Williams.
That's nothing, you guys. How about Vaseline?
Vaseline.
Oh, this is getting out of hand.
Now they had one where
camping recipe.
I believe the challenge was on TikTok to slap a teacher in the butt. Slap a teacher in the butt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you had these kids, touching female teachers' butts. Yeah.
Where's the Me Too movement?
Liberty, I think you were the one telling me about it. Was there anything else that I'm missing with these TikTok challenges?
No, super glue, the slapping. Oh, and something about hitting another student, and then another one was something with the wall, but I don't remember. But yeah, it's actually really scary. these
Yeah.
challenges are
Mm.
going viral on TikTok, and then the teachers have to like really, really balance, because you don't always want to. You just got every situation is different, but it's very touchy. I don't know.
Anybody
pun
want a
intended.
Tide Pod? I'm gonna have one real quick.
The Tide Pod challenge. He's eating the Tide Pod.
Don't get us kicked off of YouTube for that. Use a bleach
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah, that was
Oh my
just
God.
crazy, right?
He is not eating
would
a
you-
Tide
why
Pod.
would you do
This
that?
is-
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, unfortunately, I think one teacher got his clock wiped with one of these kids because it got out of hand. But we have the motto of my regiment was "Touch me not with impunity." So I mean, if you come at me it's just I'm just not going to suffer it. 3 times, third time all bets are off. But the motto was "Touch me not with impunity." And I don't know how a teacher can put up with getting with that sort of getting slapped, getting your clock wiped for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
And we've seen examples in the past of a teacher doing something back and getting in major trouble, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. That's a tough gig.
Well,
man.
that just sets the precedent that the kids can get away with just about anything. So,
Sure.
you start with
Quite a bit
smacking a
different than-
teacher's bottom, and it gradually moves to just knocking them out, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's one of
Sign
the
of the
things.
times, unfortunately.
One of the things the NRA does is it has one of its courses, and it's called "Refuse to be a Victim." And unfortunately, a lot of the young people today, they walk around with their earbuds in. They're walking down the street. They've got their cell phone on, and they're actually texting away merrily, and they've got no spatial awareness. They're in oblivion, so they're not scanning for threats or various other things. And what happens? People come up behind them, the rabbit punch them, and now you've got an $800, $900 phone that is absolutely gone. And that's your best case scenario. Never mind that your wallet might go. And unfortunately, there's a lot of trafficking in persons these days that goes on. People are not aware of that, but there's trafficking in persons, and who's to say that you're not gone? Period. So people have to be
good point.
more aware in their communities as to what's going down. And again, as I say, the NRA has these wonderful courses, especially for kids that are going off to university, their first launch as young adults, as they go off to the place, and they're living in dorms, and they're meeting with people, and they're doing their socializing, and they don't realize that the world is a big, bad, dangerous place. And so their level of awareness, their threat levels are not there. And it's sad to say that we've got to bust that bubble, but unfortunately, that's the world that we live in, and we have to protect them because they're our future.
Right.
So,
Right on.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate everything that you're doing out there, and really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join us and come on. Really fascinating story, and hopefully it's a inspiring story for a lot of people who are listening. And we really hope to have you back on the program again sometime soon. Would you be willing to come back and join us?
only if you have an interpreter.
Ah! What, you couldn't understand me? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, you guys are doing great work. I love the stuff that you do. I hope to see you back at our Shippensburg Fishing Game Club to our community. It was one of the best attended events that were going on there. There's a lot of responsible firearms owners out there that are going to benefit from your presentations. To all the folks that are out there, responsible owners, great. Thank you for what you're doing. As an NRA certified instructor, I have to tell you, there are great courses out there. Take the time, go get educated. Don't care if your granddad taught you, he didn't give you a purpose-built course. You've got NRA instructors in your neighborhood. You've got United States concealed carry instructors. Go and spend some time. And if mama's not happy about firearms in the house, there's a firearm safety course that doesn't even have a firearm on it. So mama can get to know how to keep things safe, arms and ammunition separate, how you teach your kids. And kids are smart. Start teaching them at the early age. Get rid of this curiosity about a firearm. Educate them. This is dad's stuff. You don't touch it. If you want it, come and talk to me. I'll take away the mistakes. All those things are there. And your programs allow me to reach to those people. So, sir, if you will want me back sometime, absolutely. I take tea, hot, not that ice cold rubbish that you got, and some milk. I mean, that's my fee. That and a chocolate biscuit. What can I say?
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because you sent me an email after the event that we had at Shippensburg when giving you the book, and you said I skimmed through it while I was drinking my tea this morning, right? Isn't that you said something along those lines?
Yeah.
So
I did.
are you a real tea aficionado? Is that true?
What kind? Hang on. What
do you
kind
have in
is
there?
it?
What kind of tea?
What kind is
Cold.
it?
How about this? Maybe we can set up. We do an episode that's a tea party. Would you be willing to just to have a proper tea party? Would that be
proper tea
something
party.
we could work out?
Sounds
When I was
smashing.
a kid, they used to do that with the chimps in London Zoo. I guess you know it. You can research that. Absolutely.
The chimps would have a tea party.
Yeah, I'll try and bring some sophistication to you colonials.
So yeah, well, I was gonna say if they could teach
Definitely
chimps to
need
do it, I'm sure they could teach a couple of Italian guys from the Philadelphia area to do it.
That's
No?
right. That's right.
Wait, I have a question. What's the pastry of choice? What's the sophisticated pastry?
Pastry.
Yes.
Like
Of
a
choice.
scone or a crumpet?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if you're going to talk about scones, yeah, really. Yeah.
Okay.
A blueberry scone. Yeah, just take it. I mean, you guys warm it up in the microwave. Really? Real men eat it cold. Like, but yes, you get those sorts of
Cold,
things.
dry scone. The colder and drier, the better.
No, you got to have it moist. So you have the thing there with
That's
a
what
hot
Larry
cup of-
David said.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then you
You're
get
making me
the
hungry now.
you get the potato scones and various other things, and you you toast it a little bit. You put some nice bread and jam on it. Strawberry jam is my favorite,
Ooh,
but
my
I'll even
goodness.
take blueberry. Oh yeah, there's a whole thing. 4 o'clock in the afternoon is the time for tea. It's after lunch and it's before you get your dinner. It's that gap when you're hungry. So sophistication. Little pinky goes up like tea and coke.
Oh my gosh.
Tea and a scone,
tea
4
in the
o'clock
morning
next
at
time.
4
All right.
Yep. Mike tea in the morning at 4.
Yeah. See that sounds like an educated lady. Where have you been hiding that?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Jersey.
New Jersey's known for its sophistication, right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Freddie Lee, ladies and gentlemen.
What is it? New Jersey 10-round magazines, and that's it.
That's right. 10-round magazines and, hollow points outside of exemption or felony crimes of the 4th degree, 18 months in state prison. That's all. No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no big deal.
So I have to stop short of the line, go out, get my ammo box out, unload, put it in one box, put my gun in another box, drive through the state, and then I get up to New York.
Don't
Very
stop.
easy
Don't
Yeah,
stop.
Yeah, keep moving.
Sounds perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course it is.
All
Yeah.
right, Andrew. Well,
Just,
thank you
you
so
know,
much for
stop
joining
along
us. We'll
those
see you for the
bridges.
tea party next time. All right, my friend?
You're on. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
God bless.
Been
Thank
an
you.
honor.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. Well, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
What a guest.
definitely. Yeah, great appearance.
Excellent stories. I hear that we
Yeah,
have to kick into the final half hour, starting off with Russ's PSAs. Is that true?
I
I
think that
guess.
is true. Ladies and gentlemen, Russ.
If you want it
with
to be
his PSA.
true, we can. All right.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah,
So
Russ.
you were probably looking at the dock to have that cue. So my first PSA. So I was driving around last night, and I was driving all over the place. I stopped at the store. I turned my car on because I was done at the store, and the thing in my cluster says check tire pressure. I think that's a good message. Check your tire pressure. It's getting cold. Air shrinks when it's cold. So check your tire
Take
pressure.
Take out the summer air and put the winter air in.
Yeah. Change your blinker
Check your
fluid. Check
blinker
the
fluid.
the flux capacitor.
Suck the summer air out with the straw. That's all.
That's exactly how you do it.
I'll let you guys suck.
No flakes,
You're
no
great at that.
flakington here.
Speaking
I'm
of
gonna show
tire,
you the summer air sucking straw.
Yeah, you can create a service out of that, Mike. Just be careful.
It's the SASS, the Summer Air Sucking Straw, only $19.95. But wait, there's more.
Just make sure it's environmentally friendly.
That's right.
Don't
it's a
worry.
paper straw now.
Yeah,
Not
it's a
plastic
paper
straw.
straw.
Paper straw.
Of course, I wouldn't use a plastic straw. What do you think I am, some kind of a monster?
Anyway, speaking of tires,
Evil.
check the tire tread. As somebody who has done this before, I can personally say hydroplaning is not fun. Ice skating in your car is not fun. Please do yourself a favor. Okay?
That'd be fun.
Even if you have the thickest treads in the world, you're not, black ice is not, you can't avoid something like that. You can only control a certain amount of what goes on in that situation. But if you have good treads, it'll give you probably the chance to catch the road better and earlier than you otherwise probably would. So make sure you have good tread on your tires. Or go old school and put chains, just...
Yeah, there you go.
Are those even legal anymore, Mike?
I'm sorry. I must have skipped out on the chain tire law day in law school. I must have been sick that day when we discussed the chain tire law.
Right.
I don't know. I heard probably 10 years ago that they were... Who's doing that? Who's saying ha ha? That's not funny. I heard Liberty. I heard years ago that they outlawed that because it was like tearing up the roads or something. Because people just left their chains on even when it wasn't snowy.
They used to have,
like a bunch of mustard-eating
We
knuckleheads.
had the studded tires too. I think they outlawed those. The studded tires.
What are
They
those
literally
like?
had those.
Are they like?
They had metal sticking out of the.
Oh, so
Pretty
they're
awesome
like
tires,
cleats.
actually.
They're like cleats,
Yeah,
but they're
like
tires.
Cleats. Yeah, they're like tires with cleats. Yeah.
Good job.
I said I feel like in the chat. I
Oh,
said I feel like
God.
I
How
feel
do I
like I'm
stop
like
that?
a female going to get my oil changed, and they're trying to sell me all these things that they're running.
Right.
Excuse
No.
me, miss. Are you aware that your tire tread is 230 seconds? We would highly
Oh,
recommend
Oh
you
my.
get new tires at this.
2:30 seconds. Good lord.
That'll be $1,000.
It's
Yeah,
116.
I mean, you can go. Do those qualify as racing slicks at that point?
I think so. You can use a penny to check your tread depth.
Yes, if it's what is it, Lincoln's head or Lincoln's hairline?
Yeah, Lincoln's head. I think the head. Yeah, but there should be tread bars. Usually your
Well,
tires have the tread.
Well,
bars.
yeah, but I mean, the penny is a good rule of thumb. If it's not
Mhm.
over Lincoln's head, then you should probably get that looked at.
Right. When you're in trouble.
And that reminds me something that's not in the doc. Batteries. Batteries have a hard time starting. I've had my share of really crappy cars. Can you tell? Batteries have a hard time starting up when it's cold. Okay. You should probably check I think when I was having trouble,
Here
they
at
call it
Russ's
the
service
cold
shop,
crank.
we not only
Yeah.
deal with tires and batteries, and windshield washer fluid.
Yeah. But anyway, I think Advanced Auto can check it for free. I'm pretty sure that happened because I went to get a replacement battery.
I'm
I was
totally regretting turning the floor over to Russ for this.
Yeah, I was just waiting for you to say something. I'm like,
At the
when's
Walmart
Mike gonna
service
jump
center.
back in here?
Oh, wait.
He's letting it go. This is great.
You know what? This
We
is
should do a
this is
commercial
good
out of this
stuff.
stuff.
This is good stuff.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Keeping people safe. That's what I like to do. If that's
have a
boring, then I guess I'm
Russ's service
boring.
yeah.
Hello,
Okay.
SpongeBob. Could you keep it
Yeah, I
down?
thought it
I'm
was
trying to be
2:30 seconds,
boring.
Yeah.
Batteries.
Get your
What
battery
else?
checked. Also,
What's the
speaking of
process?
batteries, 9 volts.
How many
You're gonna need
subscribers did
them.
we just lose?
I don't know.
They're dropping like flies.
They're like they're going backwards now.
Oh
What
no.
about
Anymore.
Oh,
What about my
no.
catalytic converter, Russ?
Can
Yeah.
we make California great again?
Mm.
Is there any
Let's
way we
make
can do
California
that?
great again. Let's do that. What do you say we
Well,
hit the,
Anyway,
CP
hey,
says Russ needs
come
his
on,
own
you
show.
guys. Come on.
Yes, that's a good
Come on.
idea. From now on,
Mike, I'm about to
Russ
mute
can
you.
do his own show.
This
Right,
is
listen,
the best
Russ,
part or the worst part of the show today.
it's not you, it's us. We're holding you back, man. You can't let us keep holding you
Oh, does that mean that I can shut you guys up now?
You got to go do your own show about batteries and tires.
Oh,
right?
jeez.
Oh,
Anyway,
goodness,
do
yeah.
yourselves a favor.
We have to
Okay.
do a commercial with Russ.
It's like Al
God.
from Tool Time. Remember that guy?
Yeah, shut up,
yeah,
Wilson.
absolutely.
Or no, that's the neighbor. Who's
Yeah.
the
I'm gonna
guy?
have you on
Who's
the
the
next
other guy?
episode of This Decrepit House. Russ.
CB says Russ is on. I'm out of here. Good night.
Oh, come on.
He did say
Jeez.
LOLJK just to be fair.
Oh, okay.
Let's see Make California Great Again. A lot of you have seen the video that we put out, Make California Great Again.
Sure, just run over me.
Uh,
I got it.
so
It's cool,
let's
Mike.
check out that one. Let's check out part 1, and then we have a new one to premiere on the program this evening.
Uh-huh.
Just hang tight
Where's
for
that?
that.
Part
Let's-
1 and
let's
part
see.
2? What kind of
yeah, let's-
monster would split these into 2 parts?
Oh my
And how am I
goodness.
supposed to
What the?
how am I,
I didn't
supposed
make
to
it
do that?
any. I couldn't have made it any easier for you. I know your job's very difficult.
You could have made it into
to
one
click a-
video. There's
and
that.
it's real tough to click a button that's
You know
already in the
what?
dock for you.
You know what?
Do
Shut
me a
up,
favor.
Mike.
Just no talking. Click
Shut
the
up,
button.
Spalding.
Click the link. Thank you.
Click the link over here, please.
Oh. You know, I really wasn't ready for this.
I really wasn't ready to click the link. You know,
This is
my
You
Yeah,
really
the
weren't ready to
socialist.
turn it over
I
to me
gotta
for my
Russ,
stick my
PSAs.
index
You can
finger
see
out
all
to
the
make sure I
PSAs in
can
the
click the
dock.
button properly. My finger gets sweaty and tired if I don't warm up properly.
Hey,
This is
Mike.
Sammy the socialist.
Hey, Mike,
Russ,
you remember
could
that
stay home
time
and
I
get
gave you a
check right
bloody
now.
nose?
I gotta put my my index finger on steroids
Oh, my
for the
God.
longevity.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Mike, you remember that time I gave you a bloody
Don't have-
nose?
I don't because it never happened. So
It's
that's
gonna
all-
happen next time if you don't shut up.
I don't remember things that didn't happen.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Just like I don't remember the time you did your job correctly. Don't remember it because it
He
didn't
traveled to
happen. Back it up
California.
back it
Shut
to
up,
the
Mike.
beginning. Back it up to the beginning.
What'd you miss it because you were busy talking?
Missed it.
You didn't
Yeah,
have
you
it
don't
on
miss
full
any.
screen.
Well, you
Alright.
smell, so there's that. He traveled to California. Among the most socialist people in the world.
Behind enemy lines in California, cannot get caught.
Where no conservative has gone before. With one mission in mind.
Make California, make California, make California
This summer.
great again.
Get ready to ride. Make California great again.
There we go.
There's too
Let's
many
go,
words.
Brandon.
Let's
Bell.
go, Brandon.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Russ,
In
that was
conjunction with
pretty
Let's
good.
Go Brand.
You redeemed yourself by about 10%.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That was pretty good.
10%.
I got to give you that.
Coming
There's
this
a
summer
part
to
two now? There's a
AMC.
second one, Mike?
There is a part 2. So after
Yeah.
this was put together, CB got involved and
Oh,
made an
really?
alternative trailer. Made an alternative trailer to make
Okay.
California great again.
Ooh, should
I
I
don't know about
announce
that.
this one too?
You should.
Is
you
there
should
anything
make it
to
full
announce?
screen and make sure the volume's completely up before you get it started. So full screen it, volume nice and high. CB, thank you so much for putting this together. We're gonna premiere it on the episode right now, and then we will post it to
Shout
YouTube
out to
thereafter.
CB.
Hey now.
Shout out to CB. Hey now. CB,
Hey now, CB. Hey now.
What
Have
a
to
talented guy.
Put it out on the Mike G in the Morning YouTube too.
Mhm.
What's that?
Maybe tomorrow you should put it on the Mike G in the Morning.
Yeah, no, that's the plan.
Yeah.
That is absolutely
Okay,
the plan.
cool.
We're gonna show it to everybody here, and then we'll post it out.
Fantastic.
You guys ready yet?
Absolutely.
Do it up,
Make sure
Russ.
it's full screen, volume's on loud.
It is full screen.
Fighting beaches, paradise for sportsmen, rendezvous for romance under sunny skies. This is the lure of the West along the golden shores of California.
I'll tell you what, a lot of people will say that California is too far gone, that it's been overrun by socialists. I think it is worth saving, so I am going to make California great again.
Make California great again.
Make California great again. Make California great again.
Mike G in the morning on WFYL 1180 AM.
Love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Yeah,
Fantastic. A
CB.
little more serious than
Woo!
the
Go
first
CB.
one, you know?
Make sure
A
to
little more
follow us on
serious.
Rumble.
It reminded me of the Kensington footage that we were
Yes,
looking at
yes.
last week. You know,
That's
a
right.
little bit of a
That's right.
different perspective, some different footage from what's going
Mhm.
on in California and why we need to make California great again, right? They got
Yeah.
serious problems over there.
Got to make Philly great again too.
You'd figure with so many rich liberals out there that they'd have it all figured out, right?
Oh yeah, right, right. Of course.
Have
They
you
gotta
seen
figure it
any
out,
of
right?
these? Have you seen any of these videos where they show up to a Biden supporter's house where they're mowing the lawn or whatever, and they say, you know, what do you think about illegal immigration? And they're like, you know, we don't care about it. Let whoever in. They're like, good, because I actually met these three guys at the Home Depot, and they want to come live with you. Okay. This guy's on medication. You got to make sure he gets this twice a day. And the guy's like, wait, no, they can't stay here. What do you mean they can't stay here? And he's like,
Right.
no, they can't stay here. I don't want it. You're a hypocrite.
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny how that works, right?
I'm not a hypocrite. I just don't want to practice what I preach. There's a difference, I swear.
Yeah. Do
Do
that
we
up
have any
the
good
street or
Let's Go
something.
Brandon videos in the doc?
Let's go, Brandon.
Come
let's
on.
see here.
I thought that I
How about
asked-
the do have the Mark Dice one? That was pretty funny, I think.
Let's get it. Why not?
All right.
Are they?
Pull that Mark Dice one up there. Russ.
Please, before you ask us if it's in the doc, just look at the first page of the doc and read.
Well, no,
first video into the
that's
Philly
not
Chris
what I
section.
was gonna ask.
What were you gonna ask?
What I was gonna ask is if they're actually cheering "Let's Go Brandon" or the alternative.
Oh, we would never put something with curse words in the video.
Oh, okay.
Not on purpose, anyway.
Yeah, not on purpose.
It's not like Jazzy Ralph's call or anything like that.
Right, right.
Mike,
We should
it
have
is
him
not
back
at the
on for
top.
old time's sake.
It is not at the
I'm
top.
sure,
Let me share my screen.
I'm sure many of our listeners
It's
are familiar with Mark
it's
Dice,
on
but
the first page, not the top.
Let's see.
Yeah.
First
That's
page.
right
not
under the
it.
Philly Chris.
That's not it.
First page. Mark
That's
Dice
not
video.
it.
I
Right?
think you went down too
Mark
far.
Dice.
That's last week.
Mark
Go all the way
Dice.
back up to
What do
the
you mean
first
that's
page.
last week? It's right here, Mike Dice.
Okay.
Whose side are you on, Chris?
Are you an animal lover?
Are we gonna play this whole
seriously,
thing?
Chris. He
550?
screwed up so bad that he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna show you," and it's right there in his face, and you're like, "Ah, you're in the wrong section, sir." He's like, "No, he's not. It's on the front page. It's on the first page.
It was too
It's
small. I
right
couldn't
there.
see it.
His stupidity is rubbing off on you.
I think
It's
so.
contagious.
It is contagious. Somebody help me.
Please help me.
You
My
know,
tires are low and I need my blinker fluid.
does anybody have
Welcome
a
to
spare
Russ's
flux
Repair Shop.
capacitor?
Maybe CB can do like Russ's Repair Shop, a little
Oh,
clip. That'd be great.
Oh my gosh.
Just throwing it out there, CB.
Please
I'll
don't.
buy you a couple
Rusty's
beers.
Repair shop.
Please
Rusty's
don't.
Repair Shop. Mhm.
Yeah, Rusty's Repair Shop. Check your bald tires.
Yeah, check your bald tires. How about
Make
check
sure your batteries
bald
are 12
head?
volts. Sell 12-volt batteries.
Make sure if your tires aren't bald, then shave them.
For all of you who have never maintained your car before.
If your tires have grown a little stubble,
What?
tires have grown stubble because you have to make sure you
In the
shave your
pandemic.
tires.
See,
Shave your
this is the
tires
point.
regularly.
Have
It
your
is funny,
tires
but
failed
this
you
is-
during the pandemic? Did you not
Lather
drive
them
enough?
up
and
If
your
you don't
batteries
have
would
a
sink so
car
much?
or it doesn't have tires, you can always just go to the store and get a coconut to shave.
Lather
This
up
is the
the-
part
Make sure you
where they,
lather up the tires.
This is
with
the
It's
part where we
okay.
Soap and
lose
warm water.
viewers, dude. This is the part
Thank
where
you,
we
CB.
lose people.
All right.
CB's the best.
Are we playing this whole thing? Yes, no,
I don't think
maybe?
it's too long. Whenever
Play,
Mike says to
play
show
it, and
up,
then I'll tell you if we want to get rid of it.
Okie dokie.
Are you an animal lover? We're trying to save the Triceratops. A lot of people out there. Joe Rogan just killed one, and we're trying to stop them from hunting them. We're just adding them to the endangered species list. So just name, birthday, and the signature to help to support the cause, please. Just, a lot of these big game hunters are out there killing them for sport. Prince, birthday, and a signature. Joe Rogan just killed one, and a lot of these celebrity hunters go out there.
Say anything here about it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, add the Triceratops to endangered species. Joe Rogan just killed one just for fun. He's going to hang the head in his office.
She was almost
And a
on
lot of
to
these big game hunters are out there killing the Triceratops just for sport. And so,
Oh, you don't have to. Oh, shoot.
yeah, birthday, signature there too. Yeah, so adding the Triceratops on the endangered species list will, help preserve the ones that are left.
And what about saving the animals?
Saving the animals.
I'm vegetarian.
Oh, you're a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's not really that many of them around anymore, the Triceratops, and so adding them to the endangered species list will stop people from hunting the Triceratops. People like Ted Nugent out there
can
trying
hear
to,
This
trying to
guy's
get a
got
trophy
gray
kill.
hair.
So we're going to stop that.
Hi.
Thank you,
Hear
sir.
us, Russ?
I mean, it would be one thing if people were
can't hear
hunting
you
the
over the video,
Triceratops for food.
What are you saying?
Pause it for a
These
second.
people are hunting them
Mike was saying
just
pause.
for fun.
Hang on.
And
Pause.
so
That's not how you say pause, dude.
I don't know. I'm trying to do the pause.
That's
Wrong
wrong
He's
axis.
funny. I always liked Mark Dice.
So she does just enough, gives just enough pushback where you think she's onto something. It's like, oh wait, no, it says let's add the Triceratops. And I will say this: I am no scholar when it comes to dinosaurs. If you start getting into anything outside of the most commonly known dinosaurs, I wouldn't say that I would know the difference. But Triceratops, everybody should know that one, no? Which
think
are the
so.
dinosaurs that everybody should know? It should be like
T-Rex.
Tyrannosaurus Rex, Brontosaurus,
Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl, Triceratops, Raptor,
Yeah.
right? Are there any that I'm missing? I think everybody should at least know
Stegosaurus?
those five, right?
Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus.
Oh, the
I
ones
think
with the
that's
really
probably-
long
that's
neck.
reasonable. That's Brontosaurus.
Yeah,
right?
all right, whatever. Hey, you know what? I'm not a dinosaur doctor, all right?
And they're pretty
Oh,
much
no,
all extinct.
what I'm
I didn't get
saying
my
is that
PhD in dinosaurs.
There's a good 5 or 6 that everybody should know what they are. Triceratops probably one of them, right?
Yeah. And he's got a picture of it on his chest.
Nobody's
That's
paying
even
attention.
worse. That's even
It says
worse.
save the Triceratops.
That's worse. That's terrible. Oh my goodness.
All right, keep it going.
Okay, but the guy with the gray hair, he had to have known what was going on. I don't believe he was that dumb. Did you guys notice the last
It's
guy had gray
amazing.
hair?
So we're going to have to add them to the endangered species list to make sure that nobody can get a permit to go and kill anymore. Hey, you like my shirt? Order yours from my online store at markdice.com. Click the link in the description below. You know, these people go hunting them for sport, the Triceratops, and there's even talk that Burger King is going to start adding a Triceratops burger to the menu, and there's not that many of them out there, and so we're going to add them to the endangered species list to save what's left of the Triceratops. Thank you so much. We're trying to add the Triceratops to the endangered species. It's so funny.
He knows what's going on.
Yeah, that Triceratops. You know what? You guys are a little late.
We are a little
But
late.
good
Oh, hey, thank you for getting it. We're just pranking you, obviously.
Television
Trying to save the Triceratops. Just need a few more signatures to help. Yeah, just print birth date and a signature. A lot of people are hunting the Triceratops just for sport. Yeah, and adding him to the endangered species list will stop people from getting the licenses to hunt the Triceratops. Thank you for supporting that. They're such beautiful animals. Nobody should really be hunting them.
I killed 4 of them this past
That's
weekend.
right. Thank you so much. You know, Joe Rogan is out there hunting them, and Ted Nugent and others.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the trophy
There's
hunters
a really Triceratops still?
up in parts of Africa. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So these big game hunters are
Pretty
going
sure that's
over
not where
there,
they're
and
from, but
they're
alright.
trying to kill the
Wow.
Triceratops.
No way.
Yeah, there's only a few left.
Burnt.
We're gonna add them to the endangered species list so they can't, get the hunting licenses for the Triceratops.
What's the date today?
Birth date there to help support the
Nine.
cause.
What's the date today?
Birth date to help support the cause. Birth date right there. It'd be one thing if people are hunting these animals to eat,
Right.
but they're hunting them just for sport. Just because the Triceratops is a unique animal,
Look at this
and they just
gray
want
hair back here,
to
just
mount the
not even saying
head,
anything.
on their wall as a trophy, and so we're gonna stop them and save what's left of them. Not that many Triceratops around, and some of these big game hunters are still out there trying to kill them just for a trophy head on their wall. An animal lover, will you help us to save the Triceratops?
I don't have time to say the Triceratops.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that.
You know,
All
a lot
right,
of these
here it is,
celebrities
Ed.
like Ted
Yeah.
Nugent have
That's
killed
good.
the Triceratops on hunting
That's
expeditions just for fun. And so adding it to the
He really
endangered
needs to
species
have some
list,
way to hear what I'm
birth date and a
saying.
signature.
I think so, yeah.
Adding the
Can you hear us, Russ?
Triceratops to the endangered
Pause
species
again?
list
Yeah,
will
you told me to
stop
turn it up
these people
and make
from
sure the
going
volume's up, but then you're like, ooh, I'm going to say stuff during the thing. Well, guess what? The volume's up. Exactly what you ordered.
Your fault, Mike.
My
Oh,
fault.
your fault.
Remember that time I gave you a bloody nose?
That was on the same day that you did your job the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Allegedly.
Gave you that super headache. Couldn't believe it.
Why
I
don't you
gave
hit
you
the
a
next
bloody.
one?
I didn't give you a bloody nose by punching you in the face. I did it by changing the temperature in your apartment. That way, when you woke up and it was cold, you had a bloody nose. I did it using non-violence.
Non-violence.
All right, what else we got? The screen's really tiny for me now.
Second one. Just hit the next one.
Containers from ships in L.A.
Yep.
All right.
I have no idea what this is, by the way. So
No idea either.
This is happening in Philly as well. That's why
Why is
I pulled the
closed
link.
caption on?
how long is it? Is it enough to turn it up without our all brilliant producer knowing when
It's
to?
2 minutes 42.
All right, just play it in its entirety. Turn it up.
As the supply chain bottleneck at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach continue to leave few places for empty shipping containers to sit, they're spilling over and now waiting in surrounding communities, sometimes along residential streets like this in Wilmington.
And it's a bunch of neighbors that are very upset because it's a non-stop situation.
Sonia Cervantes lives along Anaheim Street, where UCTI Trucking Company is located. The company's lot only has a capacity for 65, so the additional containers now line up along Anaheim Street in front of some people's homes.
I would have to go in at 6:30 a.m. in the morning to go to work. There was a trailer already blocking my driveway, so I couldn't get out. And then with no driver in the trailer. So we would honk, and it was just crazy.
Right now, with the ports and everything that's going on over there, we're stuck with the containers having to bring them out of the yard, and we only have so much space.
They're like sitting in the street for like 15, 20 minutes just there. Sometimes they just unload the trailer in the street with no front part of it, and they just leave it there.
There's so many pieces to the supply chain, and most of them are in private hands. But what we found is that the administration can act as an honest broker, and that's what we're doing, getting the different players together and securing commitments that are going to make a difference to get these goods flowing.
Today, we spoke with U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who says the Biden administration is working on both short and long-term solutions. Last week, President Joe Biden announced that the Port of L.A. would implement 24/7 operations.
There are $17 billion in port improvements in the president's infrastructure bill, and they're urgently needed. This is one of the reasons why we're eager to see congressional action, and I know my department is ready to put those dollars to work.
In the meantime, back in Wilmington,
A few weeks ago, it was
Ariadne
working
tells
fine.
us
Now
they're
it's
doing
broken,
everything
so
they
they need
can
money,
to
right?
ease the congestion on the street.
Gotcha.
He's asking residents for
okay.
understanding.
We've been messed with, with tickets and being harassed. We asked the community, to help us because we're not the ones. We're only in the middle.
Ariaran says city officials will be meeting with him here tomorrow. He hopes they'll work with him to get relocated to a bigger yard. Reporting from Wilmington, Rachel Kim, CBS 2 News.
So Philly Chris, I got this phone right here, and it looks like I'll need some more money for a new one. Oh man,
Good.
Phone's broken.
Those screwdrivers,
Man, I hate it when that happens.
Send me some screwdriver money.
Broken, so now I'm gonna need the funds to get a working phone. I don't know why these Republicans are holding me up here. I just need more funds.
Well, Mike, I have good news for you.
The new phone. It's broken. What do you want from me?
You need the new screwdriver-proof screen. Is what you're talking about.
Mike, I have good news for you if you need a new phone. The phone companies basically give it away for free for a 2-year agreement. It's not a contract anymore. It's an agreement. You still have to sign it.
Chris, you hear something?
What was that? Something happened?
Hey, click the next link.
Are you trying to mute me again?
Here at Russ's Repair Shop.
So
why is it doing that?
Open. This was a good one. I'm glad we're watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
that's
enjoyed
confusing.
This one.
So
I'm sorry,
for you,
what?
Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. So now get one shot of the vaccine. No.
Why not?
Because I have better immunity than I would if I was vaccinated. Right?
Yes.
Don't I?
I think your immunity is really good.
So why, if I've already gotten through COVID and I was really only sick for a day, and then 5 days later I was negative, and I do have the natural antibodies now, why would I take a chance in getting vaccinated on top of that?
By the way, I'm glad you're better. I'm glad it only lasted a day.
You're probably the only one at CNN that's glad.
I'm sure that's genuine.
The rest of them are all lying about me taking horse medication. And we should talk about that.
That bothered you.
It should bother you, too. They're lying at your network about people taking human drugs versus drugs for veterinary.
Calling it a horse dewormer is not a flattering thing. I get that.
It's a lie. It's a lie on a news network, and it's a lie that's a willing. That's a lie that they're conscious of. This is not a mistake.
Yeah.
They're unfavorably framing it as veterinary medicine.
Well, the FDA put this thing out. You saw that. Did you see that thing that the FDA put out?
What did the FDA put out?
This thing.
It was a tweet, and it was snarky. I admit it. They said, "You are not a horse. You are not a cow. Stop taking this stuff," or something like that.
Why would you say that when you're talking about a drug that's been given out to billions and billions of people? A drug that was responsible for one of the inventors of it making the
Nobel Prize.
winning the Nobel Prize in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
a drug that has been shown to stop viral replication in vitro. You know that, right? Why would they lie and say that's horse dewormer? I can afford people medicine, motherfucker. This is ridiculous. It's just a lie.
I don't think anyone is.
But don't you think that a lie like that is dangerous on a
Chris.
news network when you know that they know they're lying? You know that they know that I took medicine. Like, here it is. This is ivermectin.
You got
This
it
is
with
right
you.
here. Somebody gave it to me.
All right, hang on. The thing is, we're like going so fast. Like I feel like I'm missing.
Do you think that that's a problem that
Slow
your
it down.
news network
was not-
lies?
Well, I don't.
Dude,
what did they say?
They lied
What did
and
they
said
say?
I was
He's trying so hard to not agree with him openly and
We're
not
going too
say it
fast
out
here.
loud.
That's a sharp doctor. I want him in charge. You can't follow this conversation.
Yeah.
Too hard, right? I'm telling you, hurting my brain. It's too fast.
He's
many
trying
people
so
underestimate
hard
Joe
to be
Rogan.
like, you know what? Get out of here with your pesky facts. I'm
Go ahead.
done. I'm done.
Keep it going. Keep it going. This is
All
great.
right. We'll have
Stop
to
going
edit
so
it
fast.
later.
taking horse dewormer. First of all, it was prescribed to me by a doctor.
Yeah.
Along
Was it a
with
horse
a
doctor?
bunch of other medications.
If you got a human pill, because there were people that were taking it, the veterinary medication, and you're not, obviously. You got it from a doctor, so that it
Who
shouldn't
was
be
doing
called that. Ivermectin can be a very effective medication for parasitic disease, and as you say, it's probably,
Wow.
I
How
think
about
a 250 million people have taken it around the world. I get
More.
that.
Way more.
So,
way
but
more. Billions of people have taken it.
Can I just come back to the one I want to talk about? Two things on the ledger.
You have, before we get to that, does it bother you that the news network you work for out and out lied, just outright lied about me taking horse dewormer?
They shouldn't have said that.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
You didn't ask? You didn't think that you're the medical guy over there.
I didn't ask. I should have asked before
But they
coming
did
on
it
your
with
podcast.
such glee.
No,
Yes,
Joe.
they did. I watched.
You watched?
I watched.
You watched? No, I don't think there's
Yes, they
glee.
did.
I don't.
Wow, you're
no
one of the
takes,
4 viewers.
Joe Rogan says he has
She's
COVID, taking livestock drug.
Nobody
despite
watches that
warnings.
garbage.
Yeah.
Jamie had to pull this up.
You want to play it?
Does she
This
have
is your
glee?
news network.
I'm gonna watch.
Let's see.
I'm gonna watch.
Rogan telling his 13 million Instagram followers that he was treated with several drugs, and he included ivermectin on the list, a drug used for livestock. The FDA and the
Please do a spit
CDC
take.
warn against using to treat COVID.
Turns out I got COVID.
Look, they put a
So
yellow
we
filter on
immediately
me
threw
too.
the kitchen sink at it. All
They
kinds
did.
of meds. Monoclonal
You see the original
antibodies,
video versus that? I look like shit there.
ivermectin,
Do you know that?
I think you look good.
Pause. It's enough.
Prednisone.
I don't
That's
think
enough, Jamie.
I don't think Aaron had.
So much.
Oh, well, it's more Brian Stelter was the gleeful one. But the point is, that's a lie.
It can be used for humans. I get it. I totally.
Not just could be used for humans, is often used for humans along with all the other drugs I took, all human drugs.
Yes.
They know it's a human drug.
It's right. But
and they lied.
the thing
It's defamatory.
it is. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
It's defamatory, right?
Well, I don't know if it's defamatory.
I bet it is.
Well, I'm not a lawyer.
It's
But-
a lie.
Well, see, here's the thing. You can have nuanced discussions about this.
Apparently not a
right?
very
Yeah,
good doctor
you can.
either, right?
He's trying so
None of the
hard.
people over on that network, I don't mind him. I kind of like him. He's actually not so bad compared to the others, but
Well,
yeah,
he
it's
won't.
interesting
He
how
won't agree
Rogan's
with them
got it
that.
really in the corner, man.
He's ducking the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
agree
yeah,
with
yeah.
them
Go ahead.
that CNN
Finish it
lied.
out.
Could be handling this better.
Correct. You
All
gotta-
he
gotta
says
finish
is,
it.
"Oh, they should have said that."
You
Yeah,
can't have
he was
nuanced
kind of
discussions about
lie.
lying about someone taking horse
There
dewormer.
was no glee, by the way, from her.
Wow,
And I
I
don't
didn't
think
watch her.
anyone takes people's illness.
Oh, yes, they do.
They don't want you to get
stop it.
sick, Joe.
Yes, they do.
They
were
want you to get
upset that
sick.
I got healthy. That's one thing they didn't report on. The fact that I was negative 5 days later and working out 6 days later.
Well,
Good to
6
know.
days after infection, I was back in the gym.
I'm glad.
Felt great.
I'm glad you do. I really
Me
am.
too.
I think
Thank you.
Most of the
I'm
people
glad you're glad. You're a nice guy.
Most of the people I know, I think, would be glad that you. I don't think that there was any glee.
There's a lot of people out there that weren't glad. But my point is, You're working for a news organization. If they're lying about a comedian taking horse medication, what are they telling us about Russia? What are they telling us about Syria? Do you understand that that's why people get concerned about the veracity of the news?
The concern was, look, just the nuanced part of this. And you're not taking a horse dewormer. I get it. You got that as a legitimate medication from a pharmacy.
Somebody
whatever.
gave me. That's kind of a joke. My friend Megan brought.
That'll be fun to edit later.
Yeah, it was a good clip. That was a good clip.
Yeah, that was. Joe Rogan put him on his knee and spanked him in front of everybody.
Right.
That's exactly what that was.
You know what's interesting is they've
Stop
had
spanking me, it hurts.
Don't do that. They've had him on back on the network trying to like backpedal that whole thing too, which is ridiculous.
How do you backpedal?
How do you even backpedal?
You'd have to watch the clips. It's ridiculous. But see, the problem is for the folks who regularly consume CNN and they hear about this and they probably don't even see the clip, and then they see him backpedaling. You know, he was saying how it's really not proven for COVID. You know, it's still not proven, even though there's been some studies that have come out. I think we talked about some of them on the show. That's right. Exactly.
Here's what we can say for sure. It's not horse dewormer. And Rogan did get better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they didn't come out and say, oh, well, turns out he took this stuff. He was better in 5 or 6. They didn't say that. Whether or not that, I'm not saying that his particular case is the way everybody's is going to be, or that's some kind of scientific study, but they would. Yeah. Those are both facts, right? He did this.
That's right.
He got better. They won't report that. They won't put that out there.
Nope.
Well, the other thing they
very
were
specifically
pushing
intentional.
to is.
And number 3.
Oh yeah, totally.
And number 3 is that Joe Rogan used the F word and the S word in that clip, and I didn't realize.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot.
Well,
we're gonna have to do something.
See after it.
What do you mean we?
Hour, so we're okay. Yeah. Well, this won't be on the air. That's from YouTube, so we're okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're playing a YouTube clip.
If it's on the internet, then it's okay.
I think so, right?
What?
Well, we're not
I
on
guess
the air.
It was already on YouTube. Yeah.
That's right.
Hopefully nobody's listening with their kids, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not exactly known as a family show, though. We're not particular.
I like to be a show that the family can
well,
listen to.
I think we fit in the category where we're not particularly vulgar, but things like that can happen. So it kind of falls into this gray area. And also nobody had any warning on that.
All right. I got to catch up on comments because I was really paying attention to.
Yeah.
I was trying to bring up the comments.
Durso says 230 seconds legal minimum to pass safety inspection.
Oh, all right.
Mm-hmm.
We got the tread. CB. Part 1 is so dramatic. Reminds me of John Wick. It's cool with the trailer. Glad you guys like it. We love it. We don't
Did
like
they like
it.
my narrating?
CB says, good job, CB. Eric says, thumbs up. SM Durso says, nice job, CB. Yeah, look at him. Look at him go. The people love him. We're going to have to get him on the program sometime.
Got to.
That'd be great.
We have to do it.
They want some Let's Go Brandon videos. We're letting them down over here.
I'm thinking about just making that the background for the computer that I use for the stream.
Might as well.
And Jeremy says, I listened to the whole podcast, meaning the Sanjay and Joe Rogan podcast. Said,
you know what?
The entire podcast is a guy that used to get punched in the face, making a doctor look like an idiot.
You know what? I've looked for the podcast and I could not find it. And I've seen the follow-ups on the CNN clips. That's what I wanted to share.
You have to go to
before.
Spotify now. On Spotify now.
I wanted to see, how CNN did it. They chopped the part where Joe Rogan royally spanked the doctor guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they just chopped it out, and he just didn't look like an idiot. Well, I mean, he still looked like an idiot, but maybe I could find that.
Give it a second, because Jeremy also said that Gupta opened up the podcast with an anecdote about a guy whose daughter died from COVID to make you feel bad, then spent the rest of it replying to Joe with, well, that's anecdotal.
Wow. GG.
Yeah,
I
finish it.
I don't know
listened
where I
to a
would have
good part
found
of it,
that.
but yeah, I think Rogan does a really good job, and he's incredibly intelligent. Some people don't give him the credit he deserves. But.
He always plays it down though. He's like, I'm just an idiot comedian,
Right,
you know.
right.
I'm just, what do I know?
No,
I'm
he's
an idiot.
Very, right. He's pretty intellectual.
He lawyered him right there. He was like, no. Let's explain this the way we could to a 5-year-old, right?
Yeah.
They said it's fair to say they said it's horse dewormer, right? And he was like, yeah, I don't know if they said that. Oh, well, here's the video. They said it was horse dewormer,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
Fair to say I didn't take horse dewormer, right?
with glee too, and he's right. I saw some of those clips.
He's totally right. Yeah. This guy say that nobody wanted that outcome. Then why were they saying in the first place? Get out of here! Don't give me that.
No, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
They think everybody's a bunch of
are...
morons. That's why they get away with it, though, because a lot of people are.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Unfortunately, people think there's still triceratops to save. So maybe I'll go down into Philly and I'll ask people if they can help me save the Snuffleupagus.
I came up with a good one for you to do.
Did you?
A year ago. Remember? I had
need to get
something that I
back
wanted
out
you to ask college kids to do. And
I think I vaguely remember
you
that.
said, yeah, I'll do it, but you didn't get around to it. And now I forgot what it was.
We should get out there together.
It was gold, Billy Chris. It was gold.
Gold. All right. When you remember, let me know. I'll go do it.
I'll have to remember what I wanted you to ask.
Yeah, unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to be able to find that clip without actually listening to it first, and it'll just go out over the stream. So.
Anything else for the good of the order? We're already 15 minutes over time.
Yeah, get some batteries for your smoke detectors.
Some batteries for your smoke detectors.
Yes, 9 volts. That's where I was going to go with my PSA, but you ruined it. Because anytime you change... Did he just leave? He froze up. No, okay, there's...
Oh, did
he? Anytime the clock changes is a good time to change your smoke detector batteries.
Right on, Russ.
Oh, he got all fuzzy. Mike, why you fuzzy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you trying to mute me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You broke up a little bit, but we can hear you now.
Oh man, you guys are real. Like, okay, Chris is back.
Chris, I don't know if you can hear me. Why don't you close it out? Just give the closing.
Okay, I guess
give my normal closing. Do you think you could do it?
I could just paste it in from last week.
You do it. Yeah, I don't know if I could do it.
You don't know if you could do it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're breaking up a little bit, but you're back. Yeah.
Just do it, Mike.
Well, that's about all the time we have.
All right, I'm gonna tell you. Hold on. Can you see this or no? You can't see me.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, Mike, we can see you.
Is that what you're talking about, Russ?
Yeah, that does qualify as a 9 volt. Hopefully, it's a new one and is charged.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been a pleasure spending another evening with all of you. Russ, do you want to play us out?
What does that mean to play us out?
Play us out.
What does that mean?
Next week, too. Tune in next week.
You should write it. Write it and do it live.
All right, I'll write it and I'll do it live.
I'm working on a guest for next week, too.
That's all the time we got for today. Stick around for We the People, the Constitution Matters. Pastor David Whitney, Professor Phil Duffy. I'll be joining as your legal analyst. We miss you, Ellie. Daddy loves you.
I'm glad you did that because I was about